Chapter 1032. It was Du Qifeng who called him. Mr. Du, what's the matter? Hearing Du Qifeng's anxious voice, Tang Zheng went straight to the point. Mr. Tang, I wouldn't have bothered you if it wasn't so urgent, Du Qifeng said in fear and trepidation. Tang Zheng nodded secretly and asked, the king of medicine should have gone to your house. How is your wife? That's why I'm calling. Alas, I can't explain it clearly in a few words. Let the senior king of medicine explain it to you. Du Qifeng sighed and said wearily, Master. The king of medicine's voice came. Tang Zheng had been used to this cheap apprentice's name. He asked, King of medicine, what's the problem? Master, Mrs. Du's condition is very strange. I've controlled her condition after taking medicine, but it flared up again the next day, and then it became more and more serious. The medicine didn't work at all. The king of medicine's voice was a little low. He was very interested in difficult and complicated diseases, and he had conquered many difficult and complicated diseases. However, the situation this time made him a little confused, so he had to call Tang Zheng for help. Oh. Tang Zheng's head sank. If the king of medicine couldn't do anything, then what kind of strange disease did Mrs. Du have? Master, I don't know what to do. Can you come here? The king of medicine found it difficult to speak and he was a little ashamed. Hearing this, Tang Zheng's curiosity was aroused. He asked, my treatment skills are not as good as yours. If you can't do anything, I may not be able to do anything. Master. Madame Du doesn't seem to be sick. The medicine king stuttered, hesitating to speak. Tang Zheng moved his head and frowned. He asked, if she doesn't seem to be sick, then what is it? I don't know, but it's a little similar to the folklore about being possessed by evil spirits. I'm not sure. After all, there's no scientific basis for this kind of thing, and I've never seen it before. The king of medicine's voice also lowered, as if he was not confident in his judgment. Tang Zheng was a cultivator. He knew very well that not everything in the world could be explained by current scientific knowledge. Being possessed by evil spirits was not something that was fabricated out of thin air. The phone was transferred to Du Qifeng again. Du Qifeng anxiously begged, young Master Tang, I know this is too much, but for the sake of my wife's life, I really beg you. You are my last hope. Tang Zheng had thought that the king of medicine would be able to cure him, but now it seemed that he was too optimistic. Moreover, Du Qifeng had helped him before, so he couldn't stay out of this matter no matter what. Now that school had just started, there was not much to do, so he could take the opportunity to go to Du Qifeng's house. Okay, send me the detailed address. I'll be there today. Du Qifeng was overjoyed and said gratefully, thank you, young Master Tang. Thank you so much. I'll book a plane ticket for you right away. You don't have to book a plane ticket. I have a way to get there. Tang Zheng declined Du Qifeng's kindness. Since he could fly freely on his sword, he realized more and more the convenience of flying on his sword. It was faster than taking a plane and he didn't have to wait for a plane. He could stop and go as he pleased. Du Qifeng didn't get to the bottom of it and quickly told him the address. His house was in Shanghai, which was not too far from Beijing. It would take nearly 2 hours by plane. Tang Zheng estimated that he could get there in more than an hour. He didn't leave in a hurry but dialed Ling Er's phone first. The girl was very excited when she received the call from Tang Zheng. She jumped up and said, Master, you finally called Ling Er. Ling Er, are you tired from the concert rehearsals? Tang Zheng asked with concern. I'm tired, but after receiving Master's call, Ling Er is not tired at all. I'm full of energy again, hee. Ling Er said excitedly. If you're tired, then rest. Don't tire yourself out, okay? Yes, Ling Er knows. Ling, do you still have tickets for your concert? Tickets? I don't know. I'll ask. After saying that, her voice came from the phone. Sister Ai Me, do you still have tickets for my concert? My lady, the tickets for your concert are selling like hot cakes. The tickets online have long been sold out. Ai Me said happily. Ling Er's mouth flattened and said, is there no other way? Do you have a friend who needs tickets? Master does. Ai Me quivered and quickly said, yes, of course. What a joke. If her boss doesn't have tickets, then she doesn't need to work anymore. Ling Er beamed with joy. Thank you, Sister Ai Me Master, I still have tickets. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth raised as he gave a knowing smile and said, I heard it. Just remember to leave me a few. When the time comes, I will go to your concert. Really? Ling Er was surprised and happy. Master, don't worry. Ling Er will practice harder. I won't disappoint Master. Tang Zheng said a few more words of concern and hung up the phone. He said goodbye to his family and went to the suburbs. He flew to Shanghai on his sword. After passing through the thick clouds, Shanghai was right below him. He landed in the suburbs. He took a taxi and went straight to Du Qifeng's house. This was a seaside villa area. The scenery was very charming. When Du Qifeng received Tang Zheng's call, he was very surprised because it had only been an hour since he called. Even a plane wouldn't be that fast. Could it be that Tang Zheng was already here? When he saw Tang Zheng standing in front of him alive, he couldn't help but feel deeply shocked. He couldn't believe his eyes and asked, "Young Master Tang, how did you get here so quickly?" Tang Zheng didn't answer and asked, "Where is the patient?" Du Qifeng woke up from his dream and felt a little more confident. Tang Zheng's methods were more powerful than he thought. Then wouldn't his wife have a greater chance of being saved? "Young Master Tang, please come with me." Du Qifeng led Tang Zheng into the villa area and to his house. The king of medicine was already waiting at the door. He greeted him from a distance, grabbed Tang Zheng's hand, shook it a few times excitedly and said, "Master, you're finally here. It's good that you're here." Looking at the king of medicine's excited look and the two words "master" that came out of his mouth, Du Qifeng thought that he was dreaming. Although he was mentally prepared when he called before, he still couldn't hide the shock in his heart when he saw this scene with his own eyes. This was mainly because the king of medicine's position in the apricot forest was too high. No one could surpass him. Now seeing him call Tang Zheng master, sincerely, no matter who it was, they would have the same feeling in their hearts. "Thank you for your hard work." Tang Zheng nodded to the king of medicine. He personally contacted the king of medicine some time ago and told him about Du Qifeng. That was why he came to Shanghai. Otherwise, with Du Qifeng's reputation, he couldn't even see the king of medicine. "It's not hard, it's not hard." The king of medicine quickly shook his head and said bitterly, "I'm ashamed. I originally thought that the medicine would cure the disease, but I didn't expect it to be so different from what I imagined. Until now, I still haven't determined what disease she has." This was a situation he had never encountered before. Naturally, he was very distressed. "Let's go see the patient first." Tang Zheng recalled that Qin Baishan's wife had been possessed by the evil spirit in the Millennium Blood Jade, so he wasn't too worried. "Young Master Tang, king of medicine, please come in." Du Qifeng came to his senses and quickly opened the door. He respectfully invited them in and went straight to his wife's room. After pushing the door and entering, Tang Zheng saw a person standing in front of the windowsill. When she heard the sound, she turned her head. It was the face of a middle-aged woman. She was well-maintained and full of charm. She glanced at Tang Zheng lightly and said to Du Qifeng, "Qifeng, who is this?" Tang Zheng frowned. This person looked no different from a normal person. She didn't seem to be possessed. "Let me introduce you. This is young Master Tang and this is my wife." Du Qifeng quickly introduced them. Tang Zheng nodded slightly. "Mrs. Du, nice to meet you." Madame Du responded politely. Tang Zheng glanced at Mrs. Du suspiciously, but still couldn't find any clues. He couldn't help but look at Du Qifeng and the king of medicine. "Mrs. Du, you should rest first." Du Qifeng closed the door and whispered to Tang Zheng, "Young Master Tang, when she's not ill, she's no different from a normal person. Once she's ill." His face became a little pale and he glanced at the king of medicine. "Senior king of medicine has seen it. It's really strange. What kind of evil technique is this?" Du Qifeng thought for a while and organized his words. "It's as if she's a different person. It's a strange feeling. I've lived with her for decades, so I know it very well. I've never had that strange feeling except when she's ill." The king of medicine also nodded. "I thought it was a split personality, but later it was confirmed that it wasn't. That's why I suspect that she's possessed." Du Qifeng's face was pale and he asked, "Young Master Tang, is there any way?" Tang Zheng didn't express his opinion but asked, "When will she be ill?" "At night." Tang Zheng looked out of the window. It was still a few hours away from night. It seemed that they had to wait. "Can I check now?" "Yes, thank you so much, young Master Tang," Du Qifeng said excitedly. They entered the room again. Mrs. Du was still standing quietly in front of the window, overlooking the blue sea in the distance. "Mrs. Du, please sit down. Let me feel your pulse," Tang Zheng said. Mrs. Du turned around and said calmly, "Sorry to trouble you." Tang Zheng deeply looked at her, 2 fingers pressed down on her wrist. Her pulse was very strong, but Tang Zheng knew very little about the pulse, so he could not determine if there was a problem, so he urged his true qi, and a trace of true qi flowed from her wrist, along her meridians into her body. Now Tang Zheng's control of genuine qi had reached the peak, so he didn't have to worry that the genuine qi would hurt the patient as before. Even the patient herself wouldn't notice anything strange with the trace of genuine qi. This was a big advantage of his increasingly excellent skills. Seeing him feel her pulse, Du Qifeng's heart was in his throat. He didn't know what the result would be. Chapter 1033. Tang Jing let go of his hand, his eyebrows tightly knitted together. Mrs. Du looked at him with a bitter smile and said, "Young Master Tang, is there any cure for my illness?" Tang Jing stared at her and shook his head slightly. "It's too early to say." He found that the vitality in her body was very weak, but he couldn't find the root of the illness. A touch of disappointment flashed in Du Qifeng's eyes. "Young Master Tang, please go to rest first. We'll try again in the evening." They left the room. Tang Jing and the King of Medicine went back to the room. The King of Medicine asked curiously, "Master, did you find anything?" Tang Jing shook his head. The King of Medicine's face became strange. Even Tang Jing didn't find anything. This illness was really strange. Night fell. They had dinner and waited for the moment when Mrs. Du had an attack. Tang Jing sat opposite her and didn't miss any chance to observe. The moonlight shone on the bed and fell on Mrs. Du's body. Suddenly a strange scene happened. A touch of darkness flashed in Mrs. Du's eyes. Her breath suddenly changed and became very cold and horrible. Her face was ferocious. "Well, her illness seems to have changed," the King of Medicine exclaimed. "Why do you say that?" She used to tremble all over when she had an attack as if she had epilepsy. But this time she seemed very calm. Except for the change in her complexion and breath, there were no other symptoms. The King of Medicine said, puzzled. Tang Jing shook his head. "I'm afraid this is a sign that her illness is getting worse. Mrs. Du, let me feel your pulse again." Whoosh. Seeing Tang Jing's hand reaching out, Mrs. Du suddenly stepped back and dodged. Her reaction was so fast that even Tang Jing didn't expect it. It didn't match her weak appearance at all. Tang Jing's eyes flashed with a bright light as he stared at her. Du Qifeng hurried to persuade her. "Mrs. Du, let young Master Tang feel your pulse and treat you." Bang. Once he finished his words, Du Qifeng was pushed away by Madame Du's palm. Du Qifeng's tall and sturdy body flew out like a piece of paper and heavily hit against the wall. "Madame, you." Du Qifeng clutched his chest and gasped for breath, looking at his madame in disbelief. Madame Du's eyes flashed with a cold light as she coldly glanced at Du Qifeng. Then she stared at Tang Jing with an unkind expression. Her voice changed quite a bit as it became the voice of another woman. It was very sharp and gave people a feeling of fear. "Who are you?" Tang Jing stared at her and asked, "Who are you?" "You don't have the right to ask for my name," Madame Du said arrogantly. Du Qifeng and the King of Medicine were dumbfounded when they heard the conversation between the two. It was as if they were two completely different people. "Madam, what's wrong with you?" Du Qifeng turned pale with fright. Ignoring the pain, he threw himself at Madame Du. Tang Jing hurriedly stopped him and advised, "Mr. Du, calm down. Let me deal with her." The King of Medicine was dumbfounded and said resentfully, "Possessed. She really is possessed. It is her good fortune that I am possessing her body. What do you ignorant people know?" Madame Du was proud of herself and her entire body was exuding evil energy. "Let me catch you first." Tang Jing reached out his big hand and rushed to her. Madame Du flew back, tiptoed on the wall, flipped in the air, and threw herself at Tang Jing. Bang bang bang. In a flash the two exchanged several moves. However, Tang Jing's fighting ability was much stronger. Madame Du had a strong momentum at first, but in the blink of an eye she could only retreat. Bang. Tang Jing put one hand on her shoulder and immediately restrained her. She tried to resist and screamed. Tang Jing was unmoved. He activated his true qi and immediately sent it into her body. A cold and ruthless aura instantly came back from his true qi. His eyes lit up. He thought, "I finally found you." It turned out that there was a soul hidden in Madame Du's body. It was very hidden during the day and even Tang Jing couldn't find it. But at night, when the yin qi was strong, she would show up. Tang Jing had seen Tian Chanzi do the possession and rebirth with his own eyes. However, he possessed a dead body while this guy in front of him came for a living person. There was a world of difference between the two actions. This kind of forceful possession of another person's body was very bad. Tang Jing couldn't do anything about it. Moreover, there were so few cultivators today. It was rare to find someone who had the ability to possess and rebirth. This was because, according to the Heaven Monk, one had to be above the nascent soul stage in order to be able to possess a body and be reborn. Furthermore, there were very few people above the nascent soul stage in this world, so who was this person? He had to find out. "Who are you? How dare you be so rude to me?" Madame Du screamed at the top of her voice. She stared at Tang Jing angrily as if she wanted to eat him alive. Tang Jing wasn't afraid at all. He activated his genuine qi and immediately found the culprit in Madame Du's brain. This soul was hidden in the depth of her brain. It was a cloud of black gas. He could vaguely see a ferocious face hidden in the black gas. The ferocious face was opening its mouth and roaring. It seemed that it wanted to scare Tang Jing away. "Who are you?" Tang Jing asked. "You are not qualified to know my name." "Really? Then I'll destroy your soul." Tang Jing used his genuine qi to stab the cloud of black gas like a sword. The other party immediately shrank back, but it didn't help. Her voice became more and more shrill as if she was suffering endless pain. Seeing this scene, Du Qifeng's heart trembled. He wanted to persuade her, but was stopped by the king of medicine in time. "Director Du, if you want to save your wife, don't disturb my master." Du Qifeng was resentful. He was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, spinning around in circles. I'll talk. Mrs. Du seemed to be unable to endure the torture and finally compromised. "I escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb." Prehistoric heavenly tomb? Tang Jing was shocked. What does this have to do with the prehistoric heavenly tomb? After the restrictions of the prehistoric heavenly tomb were completely broken, many of the creatures or magic treasure that were imprisoned in the prehistoric heavenly tomb took the opportunity to leave that damned place and regain their freedom. What? Tang Jing was shocked. He was actually one of the people who knew about this matter. Back then, in order to regain his freedom, the 100 Transformation Star Lord had broken through the restrictions of the Buzhou Mountain, which was equivalent to breaking through all the restrictions of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. That was why the Thundercloud Beast was able to leave the prehistoric heavenly tomb as it pleased. However, the side effect was that without the restrictions, any living being could leave the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Back then he, Tian Chanzi and the others had personally seen tens of thousands of rays of light soaring into the sky. Tian Chanzi had once said that those rays of light were countless magic treasure S or Yin generals. In any case, they were living beings imprisoned in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The people buried in the prehistoric heavenly tomb were all experts from the ancient era. Due to that restriction, the souls of these people did not enter the cycle of reincarnation, but were instead imprisoned in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. After tens of thousands of years, these souls interacted with the Yin Qi, and in the end, many of them became Yin generals. They lost their nature and became bloodthirsty people. Back then, Tang Jing had met this kind of Yin general. Other than that, there were also magic treasures. The mountain-shattering meteor hammer that Sinosaurus had coincidentally obtained was one of them. It was just that Tang Jing did not pay too much attention to this matter in the past, and had almost forgotten about it. This was because, other than Sinosaurus, there was no other similar news. Now it seemed that he was too optimistic. In fact, many changes had already happened, but they were hidden under a calm appearance, confusing his eyes. Now it seemed that the one attached to Mrs. Du's body was a Yin general. The other party called himself, this seat. So it seemed that he had not completely lost his life. All of this was because of him. If he had not barged into the Buzhou Mountain, the 100 Transformation Star Lord would not have broken through the restrictions and released so many living beings. Mrs. Du would naturally not have become like this. As a result, he was duty-bound. It seems like the situation with Mrs. Du and second brother is not an exception. I need to find other people in similar situations. Some people are in danger and some people might have obtained some benefits and gone into hiding. If not for Du Qifeng finding him by chance, the Mrs. Du would definitely have been reborn and become a cultivator in hiding. Of course, there were also some people who would obtain some magic treasures. If they were able to survive, they would naturally become cultivators. Currently, they had not heard of this situation. It seemed that they were all very smart. Before they completely understood the current situation of the society, they did not dare to act rashly. Perhaps they had already made a move, but Tang Jing had not discovered it yet. Maybe one of the people who usually brushed past him was a spy. When he thought of this, his heart felt as if it was pressed down by a 10,000-kilogram boulder, incomparably heavy. This was really looking for a needle in a haystack. There was no definite target at all. It was even more difficult than dealing with a High Lord. Seeing his expression become extremely ugly, Du Qifeng finally could not hold it in and asked anxiously, "Young Master Tang, how is the situation?" "Don't worry, I can cure her." Tang Jing regained his senses and stared at Mrs. Du. "Since you came from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, then I will take you in and get rid of evil for the people." "How dare you?" Mrs. Du cried out sharply. Not to mention that you are an insignificant Yin general, even if you are a powerful character, I am not afraid in the slightest." You cannot threaten me in front of me, Tang Jing said coldly. Just as he was about to cast a spell to destroy the other party's soul, he suddenly had a thought and changed his mind. This matter started because of me. There are so many living beings, if I were to destroy their souls one by one, wouldn't that be a great sin? The Ksitigarbha Sutra emphasizes compassion, so I should also have a compassionate heart. Why don't I learn from Dizang of Goguryeo and convert them, which can be considered a merit? Without a doubt, in order to suppress the Asura, he recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra every day. The effect on himself could not be underestimated, and his state of mind had undergone quite a bit of change. He had experienced too many massacres and there was a lot of evil in his heart. After reciting the Ksitigarbha Sutra every day, the evil in his heart gradually decreased, and his state of mind became much calmer. Of course, this was an imperceptible change that even he himself did not notice. Mrs. Du seemed to be a little afraid and understood that she was not his match. Seeing that he was about to make a move, she hurriedly begged for mercy. Please let me go, I will never do this again. Chapter 1034. In the past, when Tang Jing recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra, there was no strange phenomenon, nor would there be golden Sanskrit words flying out of his mouth. However, when Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva recited, there was this scene. But this time something like this happened which surprised him. He immediately understood that his recitation day after day finally worked. His understanding of the Ksitigarbha Sutra had reached a new level, so he could reach this level. The Ksitigarbha Sutra has such power. It's incredible. Dizang of Goguryeo is really a genius. Chi Yu's voice suddenly sounded above Tang Jing's head. The inner demon's voice followed. The Ksitigarbha Sutra is specially used to deal with souls. Do you think we... Suddenly he realized something and stopped talking. Chi Yu also seemed to think of something and stopped talking at the same time. Tang Jing naturally heard the conversation between the two. His heart moved and he hurriedly calmed down. He quietly felt this mysterious feeling. Seeing the Sanskrit words fly into Madame Du's body, she immediately calmed down. The madness in her eyes and the ruthlessness on her face gradually faded. The king of medicine and Du Chifeng looked at this scene in horror. For them, this was the work of immortals. After listening to Tang Jing's recitation, even they themselves became calm. Du Chifeng, who was originally anxious, also calmed down a lot. What's going on? Du Chifeng turned to the king of medicine and asked. The king of medicine shook his head. The golden Sanskrit flew straight into Mrs. Du's brain, covering the black gas like a golden coat. The ferocious face in the black gas was suddenly startled, and the grimacing look was gone. It became very peaceful. Tang Jing was delighted. The Ksitigarbha Sutra was really extraordinary. It could purify the ghosts in the 9 serenities hell. The Yin general's soul could also be purified, and it was more useful than other magic. It was the only magic to deal with them. A golden light shone on Mrs. Du's forehead. Then, the golden light gradually left her forehead and flew out. Mrs. Du felt weak all over and fell on the bed. They could vaguely see a mass of black gas within the golden light. The three of them stared at it without blinking. They saw the golden light flash and shrink rapidly. Finally, it turned into a fingernail-sized golden bead and fell to the ground. Tang Jing hurriedly caught it and looked at it. This golden bead was very round. The outer layer was gold and the inner layer was black. What is this? Tang Jing was shocked and did not understand the situation. Du Chifeng ran to the bedside to check on his wife. The king of medicine hurried over and asked, Master, what is this? Tang Jing pondered for a while and said, Madame Du had a strand of soul in her body. I converted her and then she became like this. As for what this is, I don't know. Oh, what does this do? I don't know for the time being. Put it away first. Tang Jing said that he could only ask the Dizang of Goguryeo for advice when he met him in the future. Madam, you are awake. That's great. Du Chifeng hugged his wife and was overjoyed. He cheered like a naughty child. Master, is Madame Du well? The king of medicine asked curiously. Tang Jing nodded. She is not sick. It is because a Yin spirit entered her body. If it is delayed for a while, there will be no way to save her. The Yin general did not really succeed in the possession. But if she was given a few more days, it would be hard to say. Young Master Tang, thank you so much. I Du Chifeng will never forget your great kindness. If you have any orders, I will do it. Du Chifeng said solemnly. Tang Jing shook his head. He did not save Madame Du to ask for repayment. Moreover, this matter was caused by him. Of course he did not point it out. He just said lightly, Madame Du's soul is hurt. She needs to rest and calm her soul so that she can recover as soon as possible. King of Medicine, just prescribe some recovery medicine for her. Yes, master. I will write the prescription now. The King of Medicine wrote the prescription quickly and handed it to Du Qifeng. Du Qifeng kept nodding to express his gratitude. Mr. Du, we will not disturb you. We will go back to our room first. Okay, please go ahead. I'm sorry for neglecting you. Du Qifeng was immersed in strong joy. He held his wife's hand and was reluctant to let go. Master, I have something to report to you. They left and the King of Medicine said. Tang Jing nodded and signaled the King of Medicine to go to his room. After they sat down, the King of Medicine said with emotion, "This is really an eye-opener. Master's method is like the magic. I am far behind you. I don't know when I can have this kind of supernatural power." Tang Jing thought that since he called him master, he could not say nothing. He asked, "King of Medicine, do you want to learn the art of cultivation?" The Medicine King was stunned. He never thought that happiness would fall from the sky so quickly. After a while, he regained his senses and hurriedly nodded. "Yes, this way I can have Master's celestial methods?" "Yes. In fact, this is not a magic power. As long as you practice hard, you will reach this level sooner or later." "Master, don't worry. I will practice hard. When I was learning medicine, I was not very talented. But in the end, I stood out because of my persistence and persistence. Although I am old, this state of mind has never changed." The King of Medicine said solemnly. Tang Jing nodded his head in gratification. "But what you are learning is the art of healing the world. The only thing I have right now is the God-killing scroll. Its killing intent is too heavy and the wondrous intent technique was created specifically for women. So, wait a few days and I will teach you a suitable cultivation technique." There were many cultivation methods in the Langya Pavilion. He could only go there to find them. The King of Medicine quickly waved his hand and said, "Master, don't worry. I'm not a young boy. I'm not that impatient. Actually, I am here to report the results of my recent research." "Oh, there are results?" "Of course, through the research of the life-continuing pill and other pill recipes, our pharmaceutical factory has developed a new medicine. This new medicine can slow down a person's aging and prolong a person's life. Moreover, it can prevent many serious diseases." The Medicine King excitedly said. To any medical practitioner, developing such a powerful new medicine was undoubtedly a great merit. In the past, the King of Medicine did not dare to imagine that a medicine could have such a powerful effect. But after seeing the life-continuing pill, he found that everything was possible. Miracles really did exist. Tang Jing did not think that the King of Medicine was exaggerating. He said encouragingly, "The world will remember your kindness." The King of Medicine rubbed his hands and said somewhat embarrassedly, "This is all thanks to Master. If not for the life-continuing pill and other prescriptions, I would not have been able to develop this medicine." "Don't be modest. This is all the result of your hard work. Now that the medicine has been sent to the relevant departments for testing, the results of our clinical trials are very good. After taking our medicine, every patient's condition has been improved and controlled. This new medicine will change the structure of the medicine market. It will really become a miracle medicine." The King of Medicine said excitedly. "I will leave this matter to you. This is a good thing that will benefit the people. You must do it well and not make any mistakes. Master, rest assured. This old life of mine will fight to the death with this matter. It will definitely benefit more people." The King of Medicine patted his chest and said in high spirits, "The final price of the medicine should not be too high. Do not be like the other black-hearted manufacturers." Tang Jing warned. The King of Medicine looked at Tang Jing with sincere admiration and said, "Master is merciful. The people will remember your kindness." The King of Medicine reported some key points in the research and development and then returned to his room. Tang Jing was not sleepy. Instead, he remembered the conversation between Qi Yu and the inner demons. He said with a smile that was not a smile, "Hey, the two of you, stop pretending to be mute. We haven't finished what we were talking about. Let's continue." "What did we say?" "We didn't say anything." Qi Yu flatly denied. The inner demons also hurriedly echoed, "Yes, we didn't say anything. You must be hallucinating." Tang Jing said jokingly, "Oh, this is so rare. You guys are finally on the same page." Qi Yu and the inner demons were a little resentful, but they maintained a tacit understanding. Tang Jing was not so easily fooled. He said bluntly, "If it weren't for your reminder, I would have almost forgotten. In the end, the two of you are also souls. The Ksitigarbha Sutra is a spell that specializes in dealing with souls. Naturally, it will be effective on the two of you. How is that possible? How can we be the same as ordinary souls? The two of them hurriedly denied, don't let your imagination run wild. It's better to cultivate properly. This is the right path. That's right, the danger you are facing now is even greater. Not only is there the Azure Dragon Palace, there are also the things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb. These are the most important things. Tang Jing remained unmoved. I will take care of all of these things one by one, but the two of you have always been living in my body. This is not a solution. I don't want to bury a time bomb in my body. Oh, what are you doing? The two of them were shocked. In the past, they thought that they were strong enough that even Tang Jing was not strong enough, so they did not have to worry too much about his methods. Now, it seemed that ever since he cultivated the Ksitigarbha Sutra, this situation had been quietly changing. It was just that they had never realized it before. This time, they had coincidentally realized this point and understood how terrible the situation they were facing was. They had become fish on the chopping block. They were filled with regret as they had really touched a sore spot. Why did they have to be so talkative? If not for them reminding him, Tang Jing probably would not have thought of this point. Now that he had lifted a rock and smashed his own foot, what should he do? The two of them were at their wits' end. Tang Jing laughed coldly. Now that I no longer need to be threatened by you, I believe that you can also become like that golden pearl, don't you think so? No, please don't do this. The two of them anxiously shouted. They were truly panicking. Chapter 1035. After hearing Tang Jing's words, Qiyu realized that a great disaster was about to befall them. He panicked and said, Tang Jing, don't treat us like this. We are of great use to you. Great use? I don't see it. On the contrary, we are a great potential threat. Tang Jing did not think so. We really are of great use. Didn't you want to find a suitable cultivation method for the king of medicine? I have it, Qiyu said impatiently. Tang Jing was interested and asked, what cultivation method? Can you promise not to use the Ksitigarbha Sutra against us? Qiyu asked nervously. Tang Jing laughed. Haha, do you think there is still room for negotiation? The inner demons hurriedly urged, Qiyu, this is a matter of life and death. What are you waiting for? I know what you are talking about. Hurry up and tell this young man about Shenong Jing. Shenong Jing? Tang Jing asked curiously. Qiyu sighed and said helplessly, yes, Shenong Jing. This is a scripture written by Shenong in ancient times. Shenong is the ancestor of the apricot woods. Shenong Jing entered the Tao through medicine. It is a supreme cultivation method. It is just right for the king of medicine. Tang Jing was overjoyed. It seemed that he did not need to go to the Langya pavilion to search. Hurry up and tell me. All right. Just as Qiyu's voice fell, a ray of light flashed through Tang Jing's mind, and then a ray of green light slowly unfolded, turning into an ancient book that he roughly browsed through. After reading it once, not only did it talk about cultivation methods, but it also recorded medical skills to treat illnesses and save people. Especially the introduction of medicinal herbs, it was refreshing. There were many things that he had never heard of before. Shenong tasted hundreds of herbs and cured countless people. Just now he wrote this Shenong Jing. It is the most precious treasure of the apricot woods. Of course, this is a healing spell. There are very few offensive spells, Qiyu explained. Tang Jing realized that he had overlooked a problem. The king of medicine was a warrior, so he couldn't practice magic. That's not a big deal, the inner demons quickly said, as if they didn't want Qiyu to take all the credit. Oh, is there any solution? Why don't we just cripple his martial arts and make him start learning magic from scratch? That's one way. However, most people wouldn't be willing to throw away everything they've learned and start from scratch after cultivating for most of their lives, Tang Jing said worriedly. If you gain something, you lose something. Besides, Shenong Jing was made just for him. It is many times better than his half-baked martial arts. If he doesn't know how to calculate this, then he is a complete idiot. The inner demons said. Tang Jing thought for a while and agreed with the inner demons. However, this kind of situation did not apply to everyone. This was because it was not so easy for ordinary people to find a cultivation technique that was so suitable for them. Tang Jing, don't you think the two of us are very useful? In the future, you will encounter more problems and more difficulties. We can still give you advice, which is definitely more useful than making us disappear. Qiyu said with a bashful face. Tang Jing frowned. He was not someone who was so easily fooled. These two fellows were indeed a treasure trove, but they were also very dangerous. He would not let them go just because of a set of Shenong Jing, so he said, you want to bribe me with a set of Shenong Jing? You're underestimating me too much. Oh, what are you doing? Are you going to stubbornly deal with us? What do you think? No way. The inner demons hurriedly stopped him. Young man, didn't you want to deal with those things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb? We can help you. Yes, we can help you. This is a huge project. You can't do it alone. We can lend you a hand. Chi Yu hurriedly chimed in as if he was grasping at a life-saving straw. Tang Zheng's head moved. This was a good idea. In fact, ever since he found out that the Ksitigarbha Sutra could balance Chi Yu and the heart demon, he was not so worried about these two people. Because, with the Ksitigarbha Sutra, they would not be able to make any big waves and they were a huge treasure trove. He could get many useful things from them. Hastily making them disappear from this world would not do him much good. However, in order to make them obediently submit, he had to scare them as much as possible. As expected, not only did they blow up Shenongjing this time, they even had a way to find the things that escaped. This was something worth celebrating. Tell me in detail. Tang Jing said with a cold face. Yes. The inner demon smiled bitterly. He had been wise for his entire life and no one could kill him. He never thought that he would be controlled by a young man in the end. Those things that escaped are divided into two types. Some of them are Yin Soul Generals and some of them are magic treasures. These magic treasures are of different levels, and our focus should be on the Yin Soul Generals, because they have their own consciousness, and are more dangerous than magic treasures. Hearing the inner demons' analysis, Tang Jing secretly nodded his head, thinking that it made sense, but he still retorted, but we can't give up on the magic treasure after all. Tu encountered the mountain-shattering meteor hammer and almost lost his life. Alright, we'll do our best. The inner demons was helpless. These things actually have a strong prehistoric aura. As long as we grasp this clue, it will be very easy to find them. Prehistoric aura? Tang Jing frowned. Yes, it is extremely difficult for others to discover this aura, but Chi Yu and I can discover it. The inner demons vowed. Tell me what kind of aura it is. I'll find it myself. No. Only we can discover this kind of aura. Although your cultivation isn't bad, you can't discover it because we are people from the ancient era. That's why we have this kind of ability. The inner demons argued. Right. Chi Yu hurriedly agreed. We have been in the prehistoric heavenly tomb for tens of thousands of years, and have long known about this kind of aura. No one else has this kind of ability. Really? Tang Jing half believed and half doubted. Chi Yu and the inner demons said at the same time. On this matter, the two of them maintained a high degree of consistency. Tang Jing did not probe any further, but he guessed that it was most likely false, because Chi Yu and the inner demons were afraid that if they told Tang Jing the specific method, he would destroy the bridge after crossing the river and deal with them. Since they had this kind of worry, Tang Jing did not point it out and treated it as giving them a reassuring pill. Alright, I won't pursue the matter further, but you must tell me where this kind of prehistoric aura is. Tang Jing said sternly. Yes, we can tell you right now that there is a prehistoric aura in the capital. Beijing? Tang Jing was shocked, his face darkened and asked sternly, why didn't you tell me before? This. The two of them stammered, we didn't think of this before and ignored it. We only thought of this after seeing Mrs. Du's situation. Really? Tang Jing absolutely did not believe that the two of them must have other ideas in mind. Yes, definitely. The two of them hurriedly promised. Tang Jing smiled and did not pursue the matter further. Then we will set off for the capital tomorrow, and we must find the prehistoric aura that you mentioned. No problem. The next day, Tang Jing first went to check on Mrs. Du, and made sure that there was nothing serious. Tang Jing and Mrs. Du were very grateful to him and said a lot of good words. Then, Tang Jing and the King of Medicine found a secluded place. The King of Medicine was confused, and did not know why his master had gathered so many people. King of Medicine, I have found the suitable magic for you to practice. The moment he opened his mouth, the Medicine King was shocked. He was overjoyed and moved to tears of gratitude. Many thanks to Master. I will never forget this kindness. Tang Jing waved his hand and said, this magic method is called Shenongjing. It is, what, Shenongjing? Before he finished, the King of Medicine had already screamed in shock. Yes, what's wrong? Tang Jing looked at him in confusion, as if his reaction was a bit too big. Master. The King of Medicine was so excited that his lips trembled. He patted his chest and suppressed the stormy waves in his heart and said, Master, is it really Shenongjing? Of course, do you think I would lie to you? No, I definitely didn't mean that. It's just that rumor has it that Shenongjing has disappeared for tens of thousands of years, and there are only a few words about it in some medical books. Many people think that it is a legend, made up and not believed at all. The king of medicine explained. Tang Zheng was suddenly enlightened. No wonder he was so agitated, and lightly said, "This is just some people's shallow view, the Shinong scripture is real." The king of medicine nodded continuously. His old face was flushed with excitement, and even his wrinkles seemed to have smoothed out a lot. In the blink of an eye he seemed to have become 10 years younger. Tang Jing laughed involuntarily. "Is it necessary to be so excited?" "Of course." The king of medicine nodded seriously. "Master, you don't know the name of Shinong Jing in the apricot forest. Legend has it that it was written by Shinong, and it is the origin of medicine. Many of the methods of curing diseases and saving people recorded in it are called magic, and it is extremely mysterious. If Shinong Jing really does see the light of day again, it will definitely benefit millions of people in the world." The king of medicine talked endlessly, his eyes shining. Tang Jing nodded secretly and gradually understood why he was so excited. The status of Shinong Jing was really too high, and if it were anyone in the apricot forest, they would probably have the same reaction as him. "In that case you should carry Shinong Jing forward, help the world by practicing medicine and save more people," Tang Jing urged. The king of medicine nodded heavily and said meticulously, "Master, don't worry, I will live up to your expectations and I will not let Shinong and Shinong Jing down." "Don't be so serious. It's just that Shinong Jing is not only a medical book, but also a set of cultivation methods. You are a warrior and you can only practice Shinong Jing if you destroy all your kung fu. Are you willing?" Tang Jing asked. "Yes, of course I am willing, 1,000, 10,000 times willing." The king of medicine nodded eagerly. "Young man, you see, we were right, he will definitely be willing." The inner demons came out to take credit. Tang Jing ignored them and continued to say to the king of medicine, "Then let's start now. I will destroy your kung fu and it may be a little painful, you have to bear with it." Chapter 1036. There were many ways to destroy a person's kung fu. First of all, one could directly shatter a person's dantian. From then on, it would be difficult for the dantian to gather and produce internal strength. Similarly, such a dantian could no longer produce genuine qi, so the person would really be destroyed. In addition, one could also do it like when Tang Jing participated in the kung fu competition. He was plotted against and took a strong poison like the spirit refining pill. This would not only destroy a person's kung fu, but also destroy a person's body and meridians. This method was not advisable. Finally, there was another way, which was to use a strong kung fu to dissolve the opponent's internal strength. This could only be done if there was a great disparity between the two people's kung fu. This method would not hurt the meridians and body, and was the most gentle. Tang Jing naturally chose this method. His kung fu was much stronger than the king of medicine, so of course he could do this. However, the process of dissolving internal strength would inevitably be accompanied by pain. "I'm starting," Tang Jing shouted in a deep voice and activated his genuine qi. The medicine king's body suddenly stiffened as he furrowed his brows. This was because he felt a powerful energy rush into his meridians. At that moment, a bone-piercing pain appeared spontaneously. "Ah!" He subconsciously groaned in pain, but quickly gritted his teeth to hold it back. Tang Jing's mind was not distracted as he quickly cut the Gordian knot. True qi rampaged through his meridians but did not injure his meridians as he tried to use the fastest speed to cripple his martial arts. It had to be said that although the king of medicine was a master in the apricot forest and his medical skills were exquisite, his kung fu cultivation was indeed mediocre. Therefore Tang Jing's progress was very fast. His genuine qi swept through the king of medicine's meridians and dantian at lightning speed. In the end, the genuine qi defeated all the internal strength, and even the internal strength in the dantian disappeared completely. If it was an ordinary case of dissolving one's kung fu, this would be the end, but Tang Jing was not satisfied with this. The king of medicine was old, so it would take twice the effort for half the result to cultivate. In order to make up for this defect, he decided to take this opportunity to personally cleanse his muscles and marrow and widen his meridians so that he could cultivate faster in the future. Suddenly, the king of medicine could not help but cry out. Beads of sweat the size of beans appeared on his forehead. This was the side effect of the forceful cleansing of muscles and marrow. "King of medicine, hold it in. I'll help you with the bone marrow cleansing," Tang Jing hurriedly urged. The king of medicine nodded and gritted his teeth. "Master, I can hold on. Just let me go." Tang Jing secretly praised him. The pain that the king of medicine had to endure was several times more intense than that of an ordinary person. If it wasn't for his great perseverance, it would be impossible for him to endure. But Tang Zheng believed that the King of Medicine could do it. As expected, although the King of Medicine was sweating profusely as if he had just been fished out of the water, he gritted his teeth and did not utter a single word. The meridians were widened little by little, and the impurities were gradually discharged from the body. The surface of the King of Medicine's body was covered with a layer of black dirt, and the wrinkles on his face seemed to have smoothed out a lot. Tang Zheng said in his heart that he was finally going to succeed. He pointed at the center of the Medicine King's eyebrows and said, "Focus your mind and calm down. I will pass on the Shenong scripture to you. You will follow the Shenong scripture's instructions to guide your qi and enter the refining qi stage." "Yes, master." The King of Medicine was in pain and happiness. Suddenly he felt a light flash in his mind, and then there was an ancient book. He was shocked and immediately understood that this was the Shenong Jing. He was so happy that he almost cheered, but he immediately restrained his mind and followed the Shenong Jing's instructions. He began to cultivate little by little. A warm feeling immediately grew from his dantian, and then flowed along his meridians to his limbs and bones. True qi, is this the true qi? He was overjoyed and his temples were throbbing. Tang Zheng also noticed the true qi in his body. Although this true qi was weak, it naturally repelled his true qi as if it wanted to drive out this invader. Tang Zheng's mouth curved into a smile, and he controlled the true qi to withdraw little by little from his meridians, and then he guarded him. The King of Medicine was like a statue, motionless, and immersed in the mysterious realm of cultivation. From now on, he could be considered to have stepped into the threshold of cultivation, and was able to glimpse the mystery of the great Tao. After a long time, the King of Medicine finally opened his eyes, and his eyes were full of joy. He excitedly said, "Master, I finally succeeded. I've become a cultivator. Thank you for the grace of rebirth." As he spoke, he was about to bow down to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng hurriedly held him and said with a smile, "No need to be so polite. Since you call me master, this is what I should do. Master's great kindness, I'll never forget it. I taught you Shenong Jing so that you can better practice medicine and save people. I hope you won't forget your original intention, and carry forward Shenong Jing, so that my painstaking efforts will not be in vain." Tang Zheng sincerely said. Although there was a large age gap between the two, they didn't feel the slightest awkwardness towards these words. As the saying goes, the one who reaches the top first. Both of them tacitly agreed on this point. The King of Medicine patted his chest, and like a hot-blooded youth, he passionately expressed his promise. Suddenly he frowned and said, Why is it so smelly?" "Aha, I'm washing your meridians and removing the impurities. This strange smell is the cause of the impurities being expelled from your body." The King of Medicine suddenly understood, and hurriedly went back to his room to take a bath. The two chatted for a while, and Tang Zheng clearly explained some things to pay attention to in cultivation, and then they parted ways. He went back to the capital, and the King of Medicine went back to the pharmaceutical factory. He flew back to the capital on his sword, and as soon as he landed he couldn't wait to ask, "Chiyu inner demons, you said that there's a primordial aura in the capital. Where is it? Quickly take me there." The two immediately appeared and said, "Don't be noisy, let us feel it first. The smog in the capital is so bad that even the primordial aura is covered up by this smog, and has become very weak. We have to find it slowly." Tang Zheng speechlessly rolled his eyes and looked up at the sky. The sky was gloomy as if it was covered with a layer of gray cloth. Although the Tree of Life had been constantly improving the spiritual energy and air in this world, after all, it had only been a short time, and the air quality was really too poor, so the effect was not immediately visible. For the time being, Tang Zheng didn't have any way to deal with the smog that filled the sky, and could only pray that the Tree of Life's effect would appear as soon as possible. However, he had a new idea about his villa area. He couldn't care less about other people's territory, after all he didn't have that much ability, but if his own area was filled with turbid air all day long, it would be too embarrassing. Therefore he had to find a way to improve the air in his area, and turn it into a paradise in the capital. "Your idea is not bad, and it's not difficult to realize. A spirit gathering array can easily do it," Chiyu praised. Now, Chiyu and the inner demons took turns to praise him. They all wanted to make a good impression on him. "Of course, don't you see who came up with this idea?" Tang Zheng said proudly, "Let's find the primordial aura first, then go back and set up a spirit gathering array." "I got it." The inner demons suddenly shouted, "I can feel the primordial aura." "Inner demons, don't shout, you're not the only one who can feel it, I can feel it too." Chiyu snorted. "Stop arguing, let's go." Following the inner demons and Qi Yu's directions, Tang Jing walked through the streets and came to the entrance of a house. It's here, the primordial aura is coming from inside, the two said with certainty. Tang Jing looked up, a familiar door and a familiar plaque came into view. Yi Mansion. Why are we here? This was the Ye family's mansion in the capital. Tang Jing used to be a frequent guest, but after Yi Tianlei and Yi Xuanji broke off, he never came here again. The Yi mansion was still as tall as before and the courtyard was deep. There was no difference compared to before, unlike the Song and Chu families that were completely ruined. When the guards at the door saw Tang Jing, their expressions became strange. After all, who didn't know the former son-in-law of the Ye family? Seeing him standing at the door, they couldn't guess what he was thinking, so they didn't dare to act rashly. Are you sure it's here? Tang Jing looked at the house with a strange expression and asked the two. Qi Yu and the inner demons seemed to have been greatly insulted and said sullenly, "You can doubt other things, but how can you doubt our professionalism? The primordial aura is coming from inside." Tang Jing nodded with a sullen face. Could it be that someone in the Ye family had been taken over? This was something new and unheard of. Then let's go in and take a look. Tang Jing could even come and go freely in the inner palace, so how could he be blocked by these high walls? When he walked to the door, the guards quickly came up and stopped him with a complicated expression, and nervously said, "Young Master Tang, please stop." Tang Jing didn't plan to make things difficult for them and calmly said, "I won't make things difficult for you, just open the door." The guards had a difficult expression and said, "Young Master Tang, we have a duty, forgive us for not being able to comply." Seeing Tang Jing's expression suddenly change as if he was about to flip out, a smart guard quickly said, "Young Master Tang, please wait a moment, we will go and report." Tang Jing hesitated. Since the primordial aura was in the Yi mansion, it naturally couldn't escape, so he nodded his head. Not long after, the guards hurriedly ran back and respectfully bowed to Tang Jing and said, "Young Master Tang, please, the patriarch is waiting for you in the main hall." Tang Jing walked in with large strides, and found that there wasn't much change in the Yi mansion. He secretly asked the two guards about the primordial aura's whereabouts, and the two acted as guides, guiding him forward. Young Master Tang, it's not that way, it's this way." Seeing Tang Jing turn the corner, the guards were shocked and quickly shouted, "The patriarch is waiting in the main hall, it's this way." "I'll go over here first." Tang Jing didn't want to delay any longer, and with a leap he turned into a blur, and rushed towards the direction of the primordial aura. Young Master Tang, you can't." The guards turned pale with fright and screamed. Suddenly, a figure descended from the sky and blocked in front of Tang Jing. Looking closely, it was actually Yi Xuanji, who looked a bit older than before, and his snow-white beard fluttered in the wind. Chapter 1037. Yi Xuanji's aura was incomparably sharp, even more so than before. Tang Jing's eyes narrowed into two slits as he looked at him calmly. "Tang Jing, this is the Ye family, not just anyone can barge in," Yi Xuanji said in an unfriendly tone. Tang Jing was unmoved and said, "Is that so? Could it be that there's some unspeakable secret?" Yi Xuanji's temples throbbed as he asked, "What do you mean by that?" Tang Jing also stared straight at Yi Xuanji as if he wanted to find some clues from his reaction, but Yi Xuanji was after all an old fox, so how could he be seen through so easily? There were no flaws at all. "Just now the guard came to report that you're here. Since you're a guest, I naturally wouldn't neglect you. But if you're here to cause trouble, even though my Ye family is weak, we're not that easy to bully," Yi Xuanji said firmly. Tang Jing turned around and asked Qi Yu and the inner demons if the great desolate aura was nearby. After getting an affirmative answer, Tang Jing made up his mind. Even though it wasn't good to barge in, this matter was still very important and he couldn't be careless. Moreover, the Ye family was his opponent. If he was too polite, it would seem hypocritical. His eyes flashed as he walked straight towards the direction of the great desolate aura. 9 unspecified currency. Yi Xuanji slid and blocked his way. Their eyes met and sparks were already flying. "If that's the case, then I won't be polite." After Tang Jing finished speaking, he pushed his palms towards Yi Xuanji's chest. Yi Xuanji roared and quickly blocked with his palms. Bang! 4 palms collided and Yi Xuanji was pushed back a few steps. But Tang Jing didn't move at all, as if he was Mount Tai. Yi Xuanji's expression changed as he exclaimed, "How did your cultivation become so high?" Even though he had expected Tang Jing's cultivation to be unfathomable, he had never thought that his cultivation would be so high. It was not just a little bit higher than the last time they fought. Moreover, his intuition told him that Tang Jing didn't use his full strength, Otherwise he would have suffered even more. How did Tang Jing do it? In just a few months' time? Could it be that cultivators are so much stronger than warriors? In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, many thoughts flashed through his mind, and his emotions fluctuated unsteadily. "You're not my match, you can't stop me," Tang Jing said lightly. He has the right to say this not because he's arrogant. Ye's expression as the Ye family. "How can I watch you barge into the Ye family without doing anything? How can my Ye family stand in front of the world? How can I let the Ye family? How can I the Ye family? How can I watch you the Ye family? Phew, how can I? My family is right. How can I right? How can I the can I? How can I? Whoosh." After he finished speaking, a sword flashed and a sword appeared in his hand. The cold sword flashed towards Tang Jing's throat. Tang Jing's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at the approaching sword and thought, "Why do I feel like I've seen this before?" Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he realized, wind-chasing sword art. No, this is definitely not the real wind-chasing sword art. It's a fake. His guess was not wrong. Ever since Yi Xuanji had seen Yi Dingdong's mysterious wind-chasing sword technique, he had been unable to get it out of his mind. Later on, he went into seclusion for a long time and devoted himself to studying it. Finally, he created this wind-chasing sword technique, but compared to the real wind-chasing sword technique, it was worlds apart. Tang Jing smirked and said, "Trying to imitate but making a fool out of yourself. A fake like you dares to act arrogantly in front of me? I'll let you see what the real wind-chasing sword art is." Tang Jing casually plucked a branch from the side. With a flick of his wrist, the leaves fell and turned into a bare branch. Yi Xuanji's face slightly changed, but his sword attack did not weaken. Instead, it became sharper and filled with killing intent. "To deal with you, this is enough," Tang Jing calmly said. To Yi Xuanji this was no different from a huge insult. His face turned green as he angrily said, "You're courting death." Whoosh! The long sword arrived in front of Tang Jing. Tang Jing lightly waved the branch and pointed it out. The strength and speed were just right. When it touched the long sword, the branch bent into a full moon shape but did not break. Instead, the long sword received a huge rebound force. The long sword violently trembled. Yi Xuanji could not control it and his hand involuntarily loosened. The long sword flew out of his hand and fiercely pierced into the roof, leaving the sword hilt trembling incessantly. Looking at this scene, Yi Xuanji was stunned. He had lost completely. He thought that he had comprehended the essence of the wind-chasing sword art, but he did not expect that he could not even withstand one of Tang Jing's moves. Just now, Tang Jing's move was fast and accurate. It seemed to be light, but in reality, it had the power of 10,000 kilograms. It was the essence of the wind-chasing sword art. His face revealed an unprecedented look of despair. Tang Jing did not continue to tangle with him, nor did he take advantage of the situation to attack him. After all, he was Yi Dingdong's grandfather and Yi Tianlei's father. If he really did something to him, then there would be a rift between him and Yi Tianlei's family. He turned into a gust of wind and swept past Yi Xuanji. This time he was too late to block. Why did the primitive aura disappear? Suddenly, Qi Yu and the inner demons exclaimed. Tang Jing was shocked. He had no choice but to stop and ask, "How did it disappear? Didn't you say it was very obvious?" "It was very obvious just now, but now it has disappeared." The two were helpless and also seemed to be very puzzled. Tang Jing frowned and looked at the many rooms in front of him. The Ye family was a big house. It occupied a large area and there were many rooms. Without a clear target, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Could it be that the person heard the fighting, so he noticed the situation and deliberately hid? The inner demons mumbled. Qi was surprised. He pondered for a while and analyzed logically. If that's the case, then this soul has probably succeeded in taking over the body. It might even have recovered a lot of its power. Moreover, it must have been a powerful master when it was alive, so it could hide the primitive aura. Hearing this, Tang Jing was also shocked. If it had succeeded in taking over the body, then whose body did it take over in the Ye family? Didn't you say that you could easily detect the primitive aura? Why can the other party disappear under your nose now? Tang Jing asked angrily. Qi Yu hurriedly explained, Tang Jing, don't slander us, we are just a strand of soul, and our strength is greatly reduced. If we were to occupy a body, then no matter how well the other party hides, they will not be able to escape our fiery golden eyes. The inner demons also agreed, that makes sense. Why don't you find a body for us and let us be reborn? Then these are all small problems. We will solve them for you in minutes. Tang Jing sneered mockingly, your plan is too good. Do you think you can fool me like this? Stop dreaming. If I let you take over my body and be reborn, wouldn't I be digging my own grave? How can that be? We have been together for so long. We have feelings for each other. We are close friends. The inner demons and Chi Yu retorted. Stop dreaming. Quickly find a way to find the other party. Tang Jing urged. The two of them fell silent at the same time. After a while they said faintly, I'm afraid there is no way. No way? Tang Jing stared with his eyes wide open. You were so confident before. Now you are breaking the chain. We don't want to either. The two of them mumbled, feeling wronged. I don't care. Anyway, if there is no way now that we are here, I will not give up halfway. Tang Jing purposely forced the two of them. Let's capture Yi Xuanji and interrogate him. Maybe we will get something. The inner demon suggested. Tang Jing sneered, what kind of rotten idea is that? Do you think Yi Xuanji is a coward? You think he will listen to you just by scaring him? Don't we still have the soul-searching method? Chi Yu said. Tang Jing's head moved, but he immediately rejected this method. Just like killing Yi Xuanji, this would also cause a rift between him and Yi Tianlei's family. This was a last resort. He would not do this unless he had no other choice. So. Suddenly, several figures flew over from a distance and surrounded Tang Jing. They were Yi Xuanji, Yi Tianming, and Yi Ku. Tang Jing, you are too arrogant. Do you really think that the Ye family is a place where you can come and go as you please? Yi Tianming roared. Yi Ku indignantly scolded, don't think that you can be arrogant by relying on your own weight. You can ride on top of our Ye family's head. This time, if you don't give us an explanation, don't even think about leaving. Tang Jing's eyes wandered over the three of them. His eyes were burning like a scanner, as if he wanted to see through the three of them. Then who would the Yin general choose to be his puppet? The strong. The other party will definitely choose the strong so that he can exert his strength to a greater extent. Chi Yu quickly said. Tang Jing's head moved and asked, the strong people of the Ye family are in front of him. Do you think he will choose one of the three? This possibility is not ruled out. The inner demons agreed. Just now I fought with Yi Xuanji, and at that time the great desolate aura still existed. That is to say, Yi Xuanji can be excluded. Then he can only choose between Yi Tianming and Yi Ku. Tang Jing analyzed. His eyes swept back and forth between Yi Tianming and Yi Ku. Why are you looking at us like this? Yi Ku asked in a bad mood. Tang Jing did not answer. Instead he made a move. Yi Ku was still a few meters away. She saw Tang Jing's big hand reach out and use the swallowing sky technique. A powerful suction force spread out from his palm. Yi Ku exclaimed and involuntarily flew towards Tang Jing. Bang bang. His feet fiercely stomped on the ground trying to stop his body. However, all this was in vain. He finally fell into Tang Jing's palm. Tang Jing, what are you doing? Yi Tianming roared. His son was captured. His mood could be imagined. With a roar, the long sword in his hand trembled. Swish, 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 the sword bloomed in the sky. The man and the sword came together and stabbed towards Tang Jing's heart. Chapter 1038. The branch in Tang Jing's hand had not been thrown away. He shook the branch and faced the two people. Since they wanted to fight, then he would accompany them to the end. It was a good opportunity to test the two people's cultivation. With two swishing sounds, the branch was like a sharp sword, pointing at the two people's vital points. Since he wanted to test whether it was true or false, he naturally would not be merciful. He had to force the two people into a desperate situation. The branch accurately pierced the two people's bodies. However, the two people did not fall, nor did blood burst out. The two people's faces showed a sinister and strange smile, which made people's hair stand on end. What's going on? Tang Jing was shocked. He was very clear on the power of his attack. With the cultivation of these two people, it was impossible for them to block it. Even if they were strong, it was impossible for them to do so. Could it be that these two people had already been taken over and reborn? Tang Jing, your methods are useless. You should obediently accept your death. You have committed all kinds of crimes against our Ye family in the past. Today you will pay for them all. Yi Ku shouted ferociously. Tang Jing frowned. Yi Ku was very different from what he usually saw. There was always a strange feeling that he could not explain. He immediately looked at Yi Tianming. The smile on the other side's mouth seemed to be particularly strange. Young man, Ku, don't you feel that something is wrong? The inner demon suddenly asked. What's wrong? Tang Jing was confused. Chi Yu said, you are really too stupid. You usually boast that you are smart. Why are you so stupid today? Can't you see such a simple flaw? Tang Jing was more confused. Where was the flaw? Why did he not see it after looking for a long time? What flaw? Yi Tianming is already dead. How could he appear here? Qiyu asked. The inner demons echoed, yes, isn't this a flaw? A big flaw. Yi Tianming is dead? Tang Jing's eyes widened. Why did he not remember this? Really? Are you suffering from amnesia? Qiyu said snappily. You're the one with amnesia. Tang Jing rolled his eyes and retorted. That's weird. There must be a problem. It's just that we haven't figured it out yet. Could it be that Yi Tianming was the one who was possessed and reborn? The inner demons were amazed. If only it was that simple. I think things are even more complicated. Qiyu said disapprovingly. After listening to the conversation between the two, Tang Jing felt like his brain was turning into mush. He was getting more and more confused. It was as if something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Before the three of them could come up with a solution, Yi Xuanji and the other two launched a fierce attack. In an instant, 3 swords were launched at the same time, attacking Tang Jing together. Tang Jing threw away the branch and changed to the War Soul sword. He quickly slashed his sword. The air shook and the sword light directly penetrated Yi Xuanji's body. Yi Xuanji was safe and sound. Instead he revealed a proud smile. His long sword flew out of his hand and slashed at Tang Jing. Clang. The War Soul sword forced the sword back. However, the long sword didn't fly away. Instead, it made a circle in the air and turned back. Imperial Sword Technique. Tang Jing was too familiar with this scene and couldn't help but exclaim. Yi Xuanji was a martial artist. How could he know the Imperial Sword Technique? This didn't make sense at all. Whoosh. The long sword flew out again. This time it was faster and more accurate. It was completely an attack of the wind-chasing sword technique. It wasn't the unorthodox attack that Yi Xuanji used before. Instead, it was the essence of the wind-chasing sword technique. With the combination of the Imperial Sword Technique, the power of this attack increased sharply. Even Tang Jing felt a huge pressure. Tang Jing quickly raised his sword to block. He felt as if he had suffered a heavy blow. His arm went numb and the War Soul sword almost flew out of his hand. No, no. The inner demons and Qiyu shouted at the same time. This isn't real. We finally know why the great desolate aura disappeared. It's because we've already fallen into a trap. Fallen into a trap? Tang Jing's expression was strange. He didn't know what to do. Yes, all of this is fake. There's no difference between a fake and a real one. It actually deceived all of our eyes. The inner demons let out a long sigh. I finally know who the great desolate aura is. Only he can do this and deceive all of us. Qiyu said indignantly, Heng, I also know who you're talking about. I didn't think that this person wouldn't stop even after he died. He came out to stir up trouble and even hit my head. Seeing the two speak with righteous indignation, Tang Jing quickly asked, Who are you talking about? Nightmare. Who is he? This person was one of the generals under the Yellow Emperor. Many of my 9 Li tribe's warriors died in his hands. Qiyu said hatefully. What kind of ability does he have to be so powerful? Nightmare's ability is something that no one else has. In this world he is the only one who knows his magic. He also doesn't have a successor because his talent is too special. No one can stand shoulder to shoulder with him. He created a set of spells for himself, called Traceless Dream of Heart. What's so powerful about this magic? Qiyu gave a heavy snort as if he didn't want to talk about it. The inner demons said, Do you usually dream? Of course I dream. Everyone dreams. The nightmare's power lies in its ability to create a dreamscape. Then without leaving a trace, it can silently lure people into a dream. In a dreamscape anything is possible. It's like a heavenly steed soaring across the sky. It doesn't stick to a certain pattern. Moreover, the person who enters the dreamscape won't know that they're dreaming because it's too real. The two of us are inside your body and haven't been attacked by the nightmare. That's why we can see through everything. When you dream, do you dream of someone who has already passed away? Then you don't think that they're dead and you even talk to them like a normal person? The inner demons asked. Tang Jing nodded. This kind of situation was too common. Most people would have encountered it at least once. So, right now we're in a dreamscape created by the nightmare. That's why we're like this. The dead come back to life, the enemy becomes stronger. These kinds of things that surpass common sense can only happen in a dreamscape. But the nightmare's power lies in the fact that even though it's a dreamscape, once you're killed by the enemy, you'll really die in the dreamscape. Those who are lured into the dreamscape by the nightmare's traceless dream will be trapped in the dreamscape if they can't break out of the dreamscape. The nightmare will always think of ways and even deliberately create nightmares to make people die in their dreams. These words enlightened Tang Zheng. His heart was as clear as a mirror and his eyes lit up. Everything in front of him seemed to distort. The air violently fluctuated, and the trees and houses around him became faintly discernible. The smiles of the three people in front of him became increasingly strange, causing his heart to feel cold. This is all fake. I'm dreaming. Tang Jing shouted himself hoarse. Boom. With a loud noise, the whole world seemed to collapse. The faces of the three people in front of him became blurred. He only heard a shrill cry, "How did you see through it?" The scene in front of him suddenly changed. The three people disappeared and everything around him became clear again. Whoosh, whoosh. Two sounds came from afar. In the blink of an eye, two people came in front of him. Looking closely, it was Yi Xuanji and Yi Ke. Tang Zheng's pupils suddenly shrank. He said in his heart that this was not a dream. Of course it's not a dream, this is reality. Although the nightmare spell is powerful, once it's a dreamscape, it can quietly withdraw. However, once trapped, it's really difficult to recognize that you're in a dreamscape, so you can't withdraw at all. Unless you have a really great magical ability, otherwise in the face of the nightmare spell you're really powerless. The nightmare once said that when he cultivates the heart's dream traceless spell to the extreme, even if it's a magnificent army, he can quietly lure them into a dream and eliminate them all in the dream. The inner demons introduced. Tang Zheng's head moved and said, "Then during the battle of Zhuolu, did the nightmare also use the heart's dream traceless spell?" Qiyu snorted coldly and said, "Of course, how could he give up on such a powerful spell? It's just that he thinks highly of himself, but in the end he can't escape death. My people are not to be trifled with, although they paid a huge price they still killed this scourge. It's just that I didn't expect that after tens of thousands of years, nightmare would appear again." Tang Jing patted his forehead, feeling bitter in his heart. In the ancient times, the experts gathered together and all kinds of spells blossomed, making it hard to imagine. With so many souls escaping from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, it would probably cause a lot of trouble. Since there is a first time, then I will be extremely careful. I will not fall into the nightmare demon's trap again. You all said that these souls would choose the strong, then other than Yi Xuanji, there is only Yi Ke left in the Yi mansion. Could it be that the nightmare demon chose him? Tang Jing muttered to himself, staring at Yi Ke like a torch. The Ye family looked at Tang Zheng. Just now, they saw that Tang Zheng was as motionless as a statue from afar. The two of them were shocked, but they did not sit back and watch. Instead, they directly chose to charge over, preparing to give him a fatal blow. However, just as they rushed in front of him, they discovered that Tang Zheng had freed himself from the meditative state of the old monk. As a result, the two of them immediately stopped in their tracks and did not dare to act rashly. They looked at him suspiciously, not knowing what kind of medicine he was selling in his gourd. "Tang Jing, do you really think that my Ye family has no one left? Today, even if I, Yi Xuanji, risk my life, I will not let you succeed," Yi Xuanji said while gnashing his teeth. Just now, he was completely shocked by Tang Zheng's strength. When Tang Zheng left, he was both scared and ashamed. He was the dignified patriarch of a generation. If he was scared like this, then he would not be able to show his face in the Yi clan in the future. He would be pointed at behind his back and scolded to death. As the head of the family, of course he could not ignore it. Therefore, even though he knew that he was no match for it, he still had to chase after it. Only this time there was Yi Ke. "The evidence is at the back of the yard. We'll know once we go in and take a look." Tang Jing pointed to the back. "Behind this courtyard? Who are you trying to fool? No one lives in this courtyard for a long time. How can there be people?" "Hey Tang Jing, don't you know how to make up a better lie when you're lying?" Yi Ke snorted. "No one, how can it be?" Tang Jing didn't believe it. It was clear that the great desolate aura was coming from inside. His heart moved and he asked, "Could it be that an outsider broke in and deliberately hid inside?" "Aha, ridiculous, where do you think my Ye family is? What kind of cats and dogs can come and go as they please?" Yi Ke pointed at the mulberry tree and scolded the locust tree. Tang Jing frowned. "Yi Ke, keep your mouth clean, otherwise you will suffer." Yi Ke still wanted to argue, but was stopped by Yi Xuanji. He looked deeply at the courtyard, not knowing what he was thinking. "Bad, the great desolate aura is moving, the other party wants to escape. The inner demon suddenly shouted. Don't let him escape. Qiyu urged, quickly chase. Tang Zheng also ignored the Ye family, jumped and rushed into the courtyard. Yi Ke shouted, stop, and tried to chase, but she was held back by Yi Xuanji. She could only watch as Tang Zheng disappeared in the courtyard. Grandpa, why are you pulling me? This is the Ye family, how can we let him do whatever he wants? Yi Ke said indignantly. Yi Xuanji's face sank and said, young people are full of vigor, what do you know? If you chase after him, what if something bad happens to you? What will happen to our Ye family? I can die, but you absolutely can't die. You are the hope of the Ye family, do you understand? Yi Ke lowered her head in shame and said, Grandpa, I know I was wrong. How much credibility do you think Tang Zheng's words have? Humph, he is completely lying. Yi Ke's face was cold and said without thinking. Yi Xuanji was silent. Yi Ke was shocked and asked, Grandpa, you don't really believe his nonsense, do you? Do you think it is necessary for him to talk nonsense to both of us? We can't threaten him at all. He is so active, what can he do or what benefits can he get? Yi Xuanji pointed out. Yi Ke was speechless. Yi Xuanji patted Yi Ke's shoulder and said earnestly, think more when you encounter things. I found that since the war you have become more and more impatient. Although you have Tang Zheng, this mountain in front of you, but even in the face of the mountain, we have to have the spirit of a foolish old man moving the mountain. Conserve energy, accumulate strength little by little, and one day we can dig up this mountain. Yi Ke lowered her head and said, Yes, Grandpa, I understand. He turned his eyes and asked, Since you think that what Tang Zheng said is true, then what is the matter with the soul he said? Of course we have to figure it out. Let's go in. Yi Xuanji stood up with difficulty as the injury he received just now was not enough to take his life. The two hurriedly rushed into the courtyard, only to find that Tang Zheng's figure had jumped up from another wall and completely disappeared. He didn't find what he wanted? Yi Xuanji said, Let's catch up. However, the two chased for a while and completely couldn't see Tang Zheng's whereabouts. They could only look at the endless flow of traffic and sigh. Yi Ke stomped her foot and said, Damn, I let him run away. Yi Xuanji shook his head slightly and said, About what Tang Zheng said later, you are not allowed to spread it, understand? Yes. Yi Ke didn't know why, but she quickly responded. In addition, pay more attention to Tang Zheng's movements during this time. He is jumping too happily, and this has become the target of public criticism. We don't have to deal with him, someone else will clean him up. We just need to watch the show and then save our strength. Yi Ke nodded. The leader is determined to support our Ye family. If we are unable to support the leader will change his target in minutes, and our Ye family will completely lose the opportunity to rise. Therefore, during this time you must be 120% alert, there must be no mistakes. Yi Xuanji sternly warned. Yi Ke understood the importance of the matter and nodded heavily. When Tang Zheng chased into the courtyard, the primitive aura had already escaped. He followed the aura and quickly chased out. As for the Ye family behind him, he didn't take them to heart, because he could quickly get rid of them. Sure enough, he quickly got rid of the two people, but the speed of the primitive aura was so fast that it was jaw-dropping. Even he couldn't catch up. Tang Zheng, the nightmare, was a strong man who had reached the Deshang realm. Although it is only his soul, I am afraid that after the possession his cultivation base is definitely not low. It is even possible that it is higher than yours, so you may not be able to catch up with him. The inner demon said worriedly. Qiyu retorted, We have to catch up. This is our last chance. Our perception range of the primitive aura is only 5 kilometers. Once it exceeds this range we can't do anything. Since we have already alerted the enemy, if we let the other party escape, the other party will definitely hide completely, and it will be difficult to find them again. The perception range is only 5 kilometers, then why didn't you say it before? Tang Zheng was surprised. This, you didn't ask. Qiyu and the inner demon said bitterly. Tang Zheng thought about it and immediately understood what the two were thinking. He asked, You deliberately raised your value before, so you didn't say this, right? In order to survive and prove their great value, the two of them naturally wouldn't reveal their shortcomings. As for the desolate aura in the Yi residence, they had long discovered it, which was why they were so confident. As for the other desolate auras, they couldn't sense them at all. They didn't even have the slightest clue. I was actually tricked by the two of you. Tang Zheng's expression was unkind. How did we trick you? We can really sense the primitive aura, but there is a distance limit. Humph, deliberately exaggerating, isn't that a trick? You're wrong, we didn't lie to you at all. The two hurriedly defended themselves. It had to be said that what the two said was not unreasonable. Tang Jing didn't ask and they didn't say in detail, so it wasn't a trick. It was Tang Jing's fault for subconsciously making a mistake. Wait until I catch this nightmare, then I'll deal with you guys. Tang Jing was indignant and raised his speed to the limit. He madly ran all the way, circling through the streets of Beijing. After chasing for half a day, he still couldn't even see the shadow of the other party. Only the primitive aura was guiding him. This made Tang Jing depressed and secretly competitive. If I can't catch up, then I'll catch up. Let's see who can last longer. Ring ring ring. Suddenly the phone in his pocket rang. At this critical moment, who is calling? Young Master Tang, quickly come and save me. Ji Wuxiang's voice came from the phone, sounding very anxious. What's the matter? Someone wants to kill me. Who wants to kill you? Beep beep. The phone was cut off, and when he called back he was told that the phone was turned off. Don't worry about that, Ji Wuxiang, catching the nightmare is the most important thing. Qiyu urged. The inner demons hurriedly retorted, although the nightmare is important, Ji Wuxiang is also important. If his celestial chess falls into the hands of others, I'm afraid it will be very disadvantageous for you. Ji Wuxiang is a genius, such a person cannot fall into the hands of others. Chapter 1040. What's so hard to choose? Stop hesitating and continue chasing the Nightmare Lord. Otherwise it will be too late for regrets. Qiyu kept urging. The inner demons retorted, Qiyu, don't be an alarmist. He has a grudge with you, that's why you want to kill him. The Nightmare Lord is indeed powerful, but to say that he's so powerful that it's against the heavens is definitely an exaggeration. Why would the Nightmare Lord run away and not face Tang Jing head-on? Because he knows that Tang Jing has a way to break his traceless dream spell. His most powerful spell would not work, so he would naturally run away. Is that so? Tang Jing's heart moved as he asked. Of course it is so. The inner demon said as a matter of fact. Qiyu did not refute, clearly agreeing with this point. If I meet the Nightmare Lord again, can I not be affected by his traceless dream spell? Tang Jing asked curiously. The inner demons confidently said, of course not for normal people, but you can rest assured that with us here, even if he can lure you into the dream realm, he won't be able to lure us. So, as long as the two of us are here, the Nightmare Lord's spell will not work. So that's how it is. Tang Jing suddenly understood, immediately understanding the importance of the situation. Inner demons, if you don't speak, no one will think you're a mute. Qiyu said in a flustered and exasperated manner. The inner demons chuckled, Qiyu, you're so flustered and exasperated because I'm right. What I said is the truth. As for how to choose, that's up to the young man. You don't really think that you can make the young man's decision right? Don't be so arrogant, arrogance makes people fall behind. Tang Jing did not pay attention to the two of them arguing. In his heart he gradually came up with a plan. Since he had chased the Nightmare Lord for so long and still could not catch him, that meant that the Nightmare Lord's methods were very good. Even if he continued to chase, he might not be able to catch him. However, if Ji Wuxiang fell into the enemy's hands, he would not be able to keep the chess piece and would be a huge threat to himself. I understand. In an instant he made his decision. What are you going to do? I'll go save Ji Wuxiang first. Qiyu really wanted to look up at the sky and sigh. He hatefully said to the inner demons, Inner demons, it's you who ruined my plans. I'll remember you. Just you wait. The inner demons didn't care. Qiyu, whether it was when you were alive or now, you can't do anything to me. So your threat is too weak to be effective. Inner demons, you really are my nemesis. Qiyu shouted angrily. Tang Jing changed direction and headed straight for the Xiangqi Club. Although Ji Wuxiang did not say where he was, he had a feeling that Ji Wuxiang was most likely in the Go Club. When he arrived at the Go Club, the door was tightly shut. He immediately frowned. He had guessed correctly. As for what had happened in the Go Club, no one knew. Even the passers-by at the door did not notice anything strange. However, Tang Jing sensed it. He quickly went to the corner and, while no one was paying attention, lightly tiptoed into the Go Club. Separated by a wall, the outside was noisy, but the inside was silent. Not even the chirping of insects or birds could be heard. It was terrifyingly silent. As far as the eye could see, he understood what was going on. Because everything in front of him was completely different from before. It was a mess. The pavilions had collapsed and turned into ruins. The mood of the small bridge and flowing water was completely destroyed. Tang Jing's pupils constricted as he hurriedly rushed out. After a few steps, he saw the only place that was completely undamaged. The hall, which was also the place where many chess players used to play. The Go boards were still standing. The Go players sat in front of the boards, holding the pieces in their hands. Their faces were cold and hard like rocks in the cold wind. Their hands were frozen in midair and did not fall for a long time. There were two people standing in the hall. One of them was Ji Wuxiang and the other was wearing a mask. Tang Jing recognized him at a glance. He exclaimed, "My lord." The masked man was the Great Lord. Tang Jing had fought him several times, so he was very familiar with the mask. Hearing the voice, the Great Lord and Ji Wuxiang turned their heads at the same time. When they saw Tang Jing, the Great Lord exclaimed, "Tang Jing, it's you again. Why are you everywhere?" His voice was filled with endless anger. When Ji Wuxiang saw Tang Jing, his expression relaxed. His tense expression also relaxed a little. "My lord, I've been looking for you for a long time. You're finally willing to show yourself," Tang Jing said without backing down. "Humph, I was looking for you. What did you do to my Azure Dragon Hall's consecrated Xianyin?" The Great Lord asked coldly. Tang Jing smiled faintly. "Do you want to see her? I can help you and let you meet." "Could it be that you killed her?" "That's impossible. How could you kill her? You imprisoned her, didn't you?" Tang Jing's head moved. The Great Lord seemed to have known that Xianyin could seal herself to protect her life. That's why he ran away so unscrupulously. "If you don't answer, I'll take it as a yes. Today you don't have any other helpers. You're not my opponent. I'll take care of you once and for all," the Great Lord said murderously. Ji Wuxiang shouted, "Who said that young Master Tang doesn't have any helpers? Although I, Ji Wuxiang, am not that talented, I can still help young Master Tang." "Ji Wuxiang, even now you're still stubborn. Do you really think I won't kill you?" the Great Lord scolded. "In order to get the heavenly chess, are you willing to kill me?" Ji Wuxiang asked jokingly. He clearly knew what his biggest reliance was. The heavenly chess was his own creation. If others wanted to get the heavenly chess, they would have to dig it out bit by bit from his head. They wouldn't kill him immediately. "Your heavenly chess is only SOSO. It can't even trap me, let alone deal with others. I think it's better not to use it," the Great Lord said disdainfully. Ji Wuxiang was unmoved. Although the Great Lord was belittling the heavenly chess, he wasn't prepared to refute. On the other hand, when Tang Jing heard this, his heart skipped a beat, and he immediately understood what was going on. Ji Wuxiang and the others were able to hold on until now because they had set up the heavenly chess to resist the Great Lord. However, according to what Ji Wuxiang said, wasn't the heavenly chess very powerful? Why couldn't it trap the Great Lord? Instead, they were forced to retreat again and again. The Great Lord stared at Tang Jing with burning eyes, saying, "Tang Jing, if you hand over consecrated Xianyin, then I can let you die a quick death." Tang Jing snorted and lightly spat out two words, "Dream on. Then I'll let you know the taste of death." The Great Lord stretched out his hand and rushed towards Tang Jing. Tang Jing hurriedly stabbed out with his sword. In an instant, the aura of heaven and earth changed greatly. No matter how the sword chi danced, countless sword marks appeared on the ground. As for Ji Wuxiang and the other Go players, they were like small boats in a storm, bobbing up and down with the waves. It was very dangerous. Suddenly Ji Wuxiang shouted, "Fecta." At the same time the Go players began to move. The Go pieces in their hands landed heavily. Bang! The sound of the Go pieces making contact with the chessboard was exceptionally crisp. Before the sound had faded away, a mysterious energy surged out from the chessboard, spreading throughout the entire Go club. The aura of this small world had undergone a tremendous change. If one looked from the outside, they would see that the Go club hadn't changed at all. There wasn't even the slightest change. However, the inside of the Go club had undergone a myriad of changes. Tang Jing's senses were very sharp. He immediately noticed this. After fending off the Great Lord with his sword, he couldn't help but look at Ji Wuxiang and the other Go players. He saw that Ji Wuxiang's expression was solemn and even had a murderous aura. He was like a general in ancient times who commanded thousands of troops and horses. The Go players were like his subordinates. The Go players also changed. Although they were still as solemn as statues, their expressions were obviously more relaxed. It was obvious that they had been under a lot of pressure at the beginning. They held the Go pieces in their hands and were floating in the air. It seemed like they would place their Go pieces at any time. Tang Jing's head moved. He gradually understood. Ji Wuxiang's fecta earlier was probably the order to place the Go pieces or even the position of the Go pieces. However, he didn't know what it meant exactly. After the Go pieces were placed, the aura of heaven and earth changed. This was enough to show how extraordinary celestial chess was. It could actually cause the aura of heaven and earth to change. It was truly extraordinary for a Go game to have such power. Tang Jing didn't underestimate celestial chess like the Great Lord. Instead, because of this change, he treated celestial chess differently and had a higher opinion of it. The Great Lord had seen this change in the previous battle, so he was already used to it. The aura of heaven and earth changed more and more violently. Suddenly Tang Jing felt a chill. He felt something and looked at the Great Lord. The Great Lord's expression changed. He shouted, "You're doing it again." Bam! With a muffled sound, it was as if a tyrannical force had struck the High Lord's body. He quickly retreated, leaving a long mark on the ground. The floor was like the earth that had been plowed, turning up one after another. What a tyrannical force! I can't guard against it. Tang Jing turned pale with fright. This change was beyond his expectations. He asked himself honestly. If he was in the Great Lord's position, he definitely wouldn't be able to block this attack. Most importantly, this attack was invisible. There was no trace of it at all. By the time he noticed it, it was already too late to guard against it. Is this the power of celestial chess? Tang Jing muttered to himself. Celestial chess's attack was invisible, but its power was so great. It was indeed too terrifying. It made one's hair stand on end. The Great Lord wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes shone with a terrifying light from behind the mask. He shouted himself hoarse, "I'm going to break your celestial chess today." As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed out. This time he wasn't targeting Tang Jing. Instead, he directly attacked Ji Wuxiang. Obviously, in his heart, celestial chess was a bigger threat than Tang Jing. Celestial Jade. Ji Wuxiang opened his mouth again. This time he didn't seem to be as relaxed as before. These two words burst out from his throat with great difficulty. Those chess players moved again. This time their movements were very slow. It was as if they were resisting an invisible force. Tang Jing saw everything clearly. He couldn't help but be amazed. This was a huge difference from before. As an outsider, he didn't know the reason behind it. Bam. Chapter 1041. The chess piece landed and a sudden change occurred. A tyrannical force once again struck the High Lord's body, and blood seeped out from under his clothes, forming a dark red patch. You. The High Lord gasped for breath. His breathing became extremely hurried and chaotic, and he was actually unable to say a complete sentence. He propped himself up with his palm on the ground, turned into a ray of light, and fiercely rushed towards Ji Wuxiang. Stop. Tang Jing shouted loudly, the sun-shooting arrow and heaven-shocking bow in his hands. The bowstring trembled, and the sun-shooting arrow flew out like a meteor, arriving in front of Ji Wuxiang in the blink of an eye. Ji Wuxiang's face changed. How did your sun-shooting arrow become so powerful? Tang Jing sneered. With a thought, the speed of the sun-shooting arrow increased. The High Lord flipped in the air, the sun-shooting arrow brushing past his scalp. However, before he could rejoice, he saw the sun-shooting arrow turn back in midair. His expression changed greatly as he looked at the sun-shooting arrow and Tang Jing in disbelief. This was even more powerful than he had expected. Seeing the sun-shooting arrow flying over again and Ji Wuxiang opening his mouth as if he was about to speak again, his expression turned cold. He looked at Tang Jing hatefully, then looked at Ji Wuxiang unwillingly, turned around and left. Like a whirlwind, he soared into the sky and flew over the courtyard wall. Delta boom. The sun-shooting arrow missed and shot into the corner of the wall. After a loud sound, a huge hole appeared at the foot of the wall and gravel flew everywhere. Tang Jing stomped his foot in hatred and said indignantly, "The High Lord is too shameless." Once he noticed that something was wrong, he actually ran away. Is he addicted to being a deserter? Last time he ran away, this time he ran away again. Tang Jing was very clear that the High Lord was not completely afraid of the power of the sun-shooting arrow. Although the sun-shooting arrow was a sacred weapon with Tang Jing's strength, it was not enough to truly threaten the High Lord. What he was afraid of was clearly Ji Wuxiang and Tang Jing working together. With the Sky Chess and Tang Jing attacking together, the power would naturally increase greatly, and even the High Lord would not dare to underestimate them. The other chess players were drenched in sweat, as if they had just been fished out of the water. Their stiff faces finally revealed a trace of relaxation. It was obvious that the battle just now was a huge test for them. "Young Master Tang, thank you for your timely arrival. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to see tomorrow's sunrise." Ji Wuxiang heaved a long sigh and expressed his gratitude. Tang Jing shook his head slightly. "President Ji is too serious. Your Sky Chess is very powerful. Even if I did not come, it might not have been defeated." Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly. Young Master Tang, you only saw the surface but not the inside. Although it looked like we could still hold on without your help, we definitely would not have been able to hold on for long. Tang Jing frowned and asked, why didn't you say that the sky chess is very powerful? The High Lord wanted to use the sky chess to deal with Tang Jing and the others, including Empyrean Fairy and Tian Chanzi. It was clear that the sky chess was very powerful. How could it not be defeated by the High Lord? This did not make sense. Ji Wuxiang said resentfully, you only know one part of the story but you don't know the whole story. It's true that the heavenly chess is powerful, but we didn't unleash the true power of the heavenly chess just now. What we unleashed was only the tip of the iceberg. To unleash the true power of the heavenly chess, we need very complicated and strict conditions. Oh, I'd like to hear more. What did President Ji mean by Fekta and Merak just now? Tang Jing asked curiously, staring at Ji Wuxiang with a burning gaze. Ji Wuxiang did not hesitate and said openly, this is the sky chess's moves. Fekta and Merak represent each move. There are 7 moves in the sky chess, namely Dubhe, Merak, Fekta, Migrez, Aliyaf, Mizar and Alcade. Every move had all kinds of internal connections and changes. Only those who practiced the game every day could master its mysteries and exert the corresponding power. I am the core of the sky chess. All the chess players listen to my orders to place their pieces and move so that they can use its great power. The power of the sky chess can be big or small, it can be limited to a courtyard or it can be expanded to a city. Tang Jing nodded, suddenly enlightened. No wonder I didn't notice anything strange outside the Go Club just now. So many passers-by did not notice anything. However, once you enter the Go Club, it's a completely different scene, a completely different world. President Ji is truly a genius. Although I only saw the tip of the iceberg of the sky chess today, it has already left a deep impression on me. I believe the High Lord feels the same way. Young Master Tang, you flatter me. The sky chess is indeed powerful, but it's only a half-finished product now. The High Lord will definitely have designs on the sky chess. Although I stopped him once, I might not be able to stop him a second time. Don't be afraid of thieves stealing, but be afraid of thieves remembering. Ji Wuxiang said helplessly. Then why don't you seize the time to set up the sky chess? When the time comes, even if the High Lord comes to attack, he might not be able to get anything out of it. Tang Jing disagreed. Ji Wuxiang fell silent, his expression fluctuating as he hesitated to speak. Tang Jing looked at him with furrowed brows, saying, President Ji, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush. Ji Wuxiang stared at Tang Jing without blinking for a long time before saying, since young Master Tang is so straightforward, then I won't be shy anymore. I hope young Master Tang can lend me a hand and let the sky chess be truly completed. When the time comes, no matter how powerful the High Lord is, he won't be able to threaten us anymore. Tang Jing did not expect Ji Wuxiang to raise such a suggestion. For a moment he did not know how to answer. He had always been wary of Ji Wuxiang, and Ji Wuxiang's words clearly did not treat him as an outsider. If he helped Ji Wuxiang, then he would definitely have more opportunities to understand the sky chess. In fact, Tang Jing was also quite interested in the sky chess. Ji Wuxiang made it sound so powerful, but Tang Jing did not understand the principles behind it. If he had a grudge with Ji Wuxiang in the future, then wouldn't Ji Wuxiang also use the sky chess to deal with him? If he knew some of the key points and mysteries of the sky chess, then perhaps he could counter Ji Wuxiang. The most important thing was that he had Qi Yu and the inner demons in his body. These two were undoubtedly knowledgeable and insightful. Even if he could not find any clues, these two would definitely learn a lot and tell him. At that time, it would be equivalent to him knowing. The inner demons urged, young man, agree to his request. This sky chess is very interesting. I would like to see what exactly is going on. Qi Yu coldly humphed and said with dissatisfaction, just deliberately mystifying. The inner demons retorted, Qi Yu, don't go against your conscience just because you came to save him today. This sky chess is something neither you nor I have ever seen before. Don't you want to pry into its mysteries? Qi Yu was silent. The inner demons had spoken his mind. Ah, young man, you see he has nothing to say. This means that he has no way to refute me. My opinion is to agree to his request and then figure out the mysteries of the sky chess. Perhaps you will be able to use the sky chess in the future. Wouldn't that be a good thing? There is no harm in learning more. This saying has been passed down since ancient times. Naturally, there is a reason for it. So be it. I would like to see what is so great about this sky chess. I don't want to see if it is just a trick to fool people in the end, Qi Yu said indignantly. Tang Jing was silent for a long time. He had already made his decision. Since these two were in favor of this, then agreeing would definitely be more useful than refusing. Ji Wuxiang stared straight at Tang Jing, waiting for his answer. "Okay, I agree. But I don't know how to play the sky chess, so I may not be able to help you much," Tang Jing said without batting an eyelid. Ji Wuxiang was immediately overjoyed. His eyes lit up as he impatiently said, "Young Master Tang is too modest. With your help, this sky chess will definitely be completed sooner. At that time, you will be able to see the true face of the sky chess. Haha, then I will wait and see. What do you want to do next?" Tang Jing smiled faintly. Ji Wuxiang turned his head and looked around. He pointed at the messy courtyard and said, "I will first tidy up this place. Although the Go Club has been destroyed, the most important foundation is still here. So in a few days we will be able to start setting up the sky chess. During this time, do you need my help?" "No need. How could I trouble young Master Tang with such a small matter?" Tang Jing nodded and glanced at the other Go players. They had once again turned into puppets, sitting quietly in front of the Go board and playing without any distractions. At this time, Tang Jing no longer dared to underestimate these seemingly weak Go players. When they worked together, the power that burst forth was intimidating. "Then I will take my leave first. If there is anything else, we will contact each other again." Tang Jing cupped his hands and took his leave. Ji Wuxiang walked him to the door. When he opened the door of the Go Club, the clamor outside immediately traveled in. Just now, the inside of the Go Club was incomparably quiet, as if it was another world. Now that the door was opened, the two worlds seemed to merge into one. It was truly incomparably wonderful. Tang Jing could not help but look forward to the coming cooperation even more. After leaving the Go Club, Tang Jing asked Qiyu and the inner demons if the great desolate aura was still there. Qiyu said snappily, "Do you think the other party is an idiot? Since he has gotten rid of you, he will definitely think of a way to hide. Why would he still show his face?" Tang Jing had also expected this result, but he could not guess who in the Ye family had been possessed. How could that be possible? There were so many people in the Ye family, that would be too difficult. Moreover, if he went to the Ye family again, it would be useless. He had already caused a ruckus in the Ye family. If he went again, it might cause some sort of disturbance, and instead, it would cause Yi Tianlei's family to be in a dilemma. There are so many things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, and we have only found a few of them. Could it be that you really have no other choice but to sit at home and wait? Tang Jing asked unhappily. Qiyu and the inner demons naturally sensed his displeasure and hurriedly comforted him. That might not be the case. If you go to the famous mountains or walk around the various cities, maybe we can find more of the great desolate aura. Tang Jing rolled his eyes speechlessly. This is like looking for a needle in a haystack, do you know that? Where do I have that much time? Qiyu's heart skipped a beat and he suggested, "Didn't you already take the Li Palace under your command? Li Palace's eyes and ears are all over the world and they are well informed. Let them gather abnormal information from all over the world, such as who suddenly became powerful, or what strange event that science cannot explain. This is a sign, and if we follow the map and identify the targets one by one, we will naturally be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort." Chapter 1042. Tang Jing hurriedly dialed Li Xiaotian's number. With a beep, she picked up the phone and a pleasantly surprised voice came through. "Tang Jing, it's you. How have you been?" "I'm very good. The Li Palace is already on the right track. Everything is proceeding in an orderly manner. The intelligence system has already been restored 80 to 90%. When Granny Li left with her people, the intelligence system was damaged to a certain extent. However, Li Xiaotian's ability was outstanding. It didn't take long for it to be restored. Moreover, she established a strict intelligence network that was more precise and accurate than before. It had to be said that her ability was truly outstanding. "I have something for you to do." Tang Jing went straight to the point. Li Xiaotian was very happy. This showed her value, so she asked, "What is it?" "Give the order to collect all kinds of mysterious and strange events throughout the country." Tang Jing finished explaining in detail. With Li Xiaotian's intelligence, she immediately understood and said, "Don't worry, I will give the order and report it back to you as soon as possible. Don't be too anxious. This is not something that can be done in a short period of time." Tang Jing comforted her. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "You are alone in the Li Palace. Take care of yourself. Don't tire yourself out." This sentence was more effective than any elixir. Li Xiaotian was very happy. She kept shaking her head and said, "I'm not tired. I'm willing to do anything for you. Cough cough. Tang Jing dryly coughed and said a few perfunctory words before quickly hanging up the phone. He could guess a bit of Li Xiaoyan's thoughts, but he didn't want to think too much about it. Tang Jing returned to his house and saw two familiar figures in the courtyard. He hurriedly went up and greeted them cordially. Uncle Yi, Aunt Feng, why are you here? Yi Tianlei's face was dignified. He looked deeply at Tang Jing and didn't say a word. Feng Xinyang's expression was normal. She looked at Tang Jing with a smile and said, Little handsome brother, where did you go this time? I went out of town yesterday and just came back. It's been hard on you running around everywhere. I heard you went back to school? Yes, this is Grandpa's wish. You really are a filial and good child. Feng Xinyang looked at him with a smile. The look in her eyes was more doting than when she looked at her own son. Tang Jing had long been accustomed to Feng Xinyang's style of doing things. He understood that they wouldn't visit him without a reason, so he went straight to the point and asked, Is there something wrong? Feng Xinyang laughed heartily and patted Yi Tianlei's shoulder, saying, Isn't it your Uncle Yi who insisted on dragging me here? In fact, that matter has nothing to do with him. He's just a dog catching a mouse and meddling in other people's business. People don't even appreciate his kindness. Tang Jing looked suspiciously at Yi Tianlei and said, Uncle Yi, if there's something then just say it. You're being too polite with me. That's treating me like an outsider. Yi Tianlei let out a long sigh and said, All right then, I'll just say it. Today I heard news that you went to the Yi residence to cause a ruckus. Is that true? Tang Jing nodded, Yes. Can I ask the reason? Yi Tianlei's brows were tangled. Tang Jing looked at him thoughtfully and instantly understood the purpose of his trip. Yi Tianlei was actually a truly good person. Even though he had broken off relations with the Yi residents, he still missed the Yi residents deep in his heart. He couldn't be as resolute as Feng Xinyang and Yi Dingdang. Therefore, he had always been silently paying attention to the Yi residents' movements. Today, Tang Jing caused such a big ruckus that it naturally couldn't escape his eyes. That's why he came to ask Tang Jing. This wasn't a punitive expedition, but to clarify the reason and see if he could mediate. Tang Jing smiled and said, Since Uncle Yi asked, then I will naturally tell you everything I know and will not hold back. Back then, there was a prehistoric heavenly tomb in the 10,000 huge mountains. Because the restrictions were broken, many creatures and magic treasures escaped. In the past, I never paid attention to it, but now I find out that these things that escaped are quite dangerous, and are good at seizing bodies and rebirth. In other words, they occupy other people's bodies, and with a shake of their bodies they become living people again. These guys all came from the ancient era and are very powerful. Once they are allowed to truly recover and grow stronger, they will be a huge threat to this world. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang were both shocked. They never thought that there would be so many hidden matters and immediately asked, Then what does this have to do with the Yi residents? These things that escaped will emit a desolate aura. I finally found the whereabouts of this desolate aura in the Yi residence, so I barged into the Yi residence to investigate. Tang Jing explained. Yi Tianlei suddenly realized and said thoughtfully, You mean that someone in the Yi residence has been possessed? Yes. Who is it? Tang Jing shook his head regretfully. The other party is very cunning, and because of Yi Xuanji and Yi Ku's obstruction, I was unable to find out who was possessed, and the other party has already escaped without a trace, so it will be even more difficult to track them down. Feng Xinyang frowned. Then this guy is really cunning to be able to escape your pursuit. Are you eager to know the result? Of course, could it be that Aunt Feng has a way? Feng Xinyang pointed at Yi Tianlei and said, Although he doesn't have much ability, investigating a person in the Yi residence shouldn't be a big problem. According to what you said, after this person has been possessed, his behavior will be very abnormal. Even if the other party hides well, there will still be clues, especially with the people who normally interact with each other. Don't you think so? Tang Jing's head lit up and he looked at Feng Xinyang in pleasant surprise and said, Aunt Feng is wise. Feng Xinyang laughed loudly. What wise idea do I have? It's just a small matter. Saying this, her arm touched Yi Tianlei and said, Don't you think so? This small matter must be done immediately when we go back, and we must find out who was possessed in the shortest time possible. Yi Tianlei nodded his head and after a long time he said, Little Zheng, you are our family's benefactor, so I will naturally take care of this small matter, but if it involves a specific person, what are you going to do? Tang Jing raised his eyebrows and asked, Does Uncle Yi have any misgivings? Little Zheng, I am after all someone from the Ye family, so if it involves a specific person, I hope that you will be able to deal with it at your discretion. Yi Tianlei said hesitantly. Feng Xinyang heard this and directly jumped up. Yi Dunlei, what's wrong with you? How did the Ye family treat us? Did you not see it? Now you are saying good things for them. Are you a pig? So stupid? Feng Xinyang was greatly angered, and was flustered and exasperated. Seeing this, Tang Jing hurriedly comforted her. Aunt Feng, don't be impatient. Uncle Yi is a righteous person, so of course I understand what he is thinking. Only, Uncle Yi, although I am of the younger generation, there are some things that I must say. Although your intentions are good, the other party may not accept your kindness. Yi Tianlei's face became embarrassed. Tang Jing did not stop there and instead continued to say, this matter is of great importance, so no matter who is involved, I will not back down. I must find this person. Also, this person has already been possessed, so the original person is already dead. This body is occupied by someone else and is not someone from the Ye family. Little handsome brother, don't listen to his nonsense. He is soft-hearted and will never change. Feng Xinyang said without good feelings. Tang Jing smiled and said, Uncle Yi is a kind person, so he has this kind of thinking. This is better than many vicious and merciless people. Feng Xinyang's lips slightly raised and she smiled, her face brimming with happiness. Little handsome brother, do you know why I chose him that year? What? Tang Jing gossiped and asked. Feng Xinyang glanced at Yi Tianlei. It's because of his stupidity that he moves people's hearts more than other smart people. Tang Jing laughed loudly. That's right, so Uncle Ye's starting point is good. Uncle Yi, I will leave this matter to you. Find out who has been acting strangely, then we will know who the enemy is. When the time comes, it will be easy to deal with. There is no need to implicate the entire Ye family, what do you say? Yi Tianlei looked pensive. What you say makes sense. The way of the world is becoming more and more complicated. I can't see through it at all. Uncle Yi is too modest. If Uncle Yi and Aunt Feng are in the mood for leisure, once this matter is over, I will invite you to an island for a vacation. The scenery there is beautiful and there is no smog like the capital. Can be used to relax. Tang Jing suggested. Feng Xinyang happily agreed. Little handsome brother, you are the one with the heart, unlike this guy. I have been with him for most of my life, but he doesn't know how to take me on a vacation. I have heard Ding Dang mention your island before. I have wanted to go for a long time. Good, then it's a deal. Little handsome brother, let's go over there. I have something to say to you. Feng Xinyang pulled Tang Jing to the side. What can't you say in front of me? Yi Tianlei speechlessly rolled his eyes. Feng Xinyang glanced at him and said, this is a private conversation between me and little handsome brother. You don't need to know. Go to the side. After saying this, she pulled Tang Jing to a secluded area. Tang Jing curiously looked at her and asked, Aunt Feng, what is it that has to be so grand? Feng Xinyang looked at Tang Jing. The more she looked, the more satisfied she was. When he was still a high school student, she had already set her mind on him. Now it seems that her vision was truly unique. If it wasn't for her constant perseverance and encouragement, perhaps that silly daughter of hers would have already had no fate with him. As for the unclear relationship between Tang Jing and other women, she was very clear about it. However, what kind of person was she? How could she let her daughter withdraw because of such a small matter? On the contrary, she would encourage her daughter to compete even more. Only a truly outstanding man would be able to attract the attention of so many women. Feng Xinyang's daughter had never been afraid of challenges and competition. Bravely moving forward was the style she should have. However, ever since the last time she let Yi Dingdang return home and had a long talk with her, Feng Xinyang also realized that her daughter was facing a crisis. The most important thing was that the women by Tang Zheng's side were too outstanding. Not to mention Wu and Li Xiaotian, these two were originally experts of Li Palace and martial organization. She had to admit that they were stronger than Yi Dingdang. Chapter 1043. Seeing that Feng Xinyang was staring at him, Tang Jing thought that something big was going on. He quickly restrained his expression and became serious. Little handsome brother, how are things going with you and Dingdang? Tang Jing was greatly embarrassed. Why would she ask such a question? If it was someone else, he could refuse to answer. However, the other party was Feng Xinyang. He simply could not refuse. After thinking for a while, he said, "We're pretty good." Pretty good? Why did I hear that she has some conflicts with that princess and... Tang Jing's eyes widened as he thought to himself, "You even know this?" Feng Xinyang gave him a look that said, "I've already seen through everything. Don't lie to me." She continued, "Dingdang is an impatient girl. She doesn't know how to beat around the bush. If she does anything wrong, you have to bear with her." Tang Jing nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. Aunt Feng, don't worry. Ding Dang is very sensible. Feng Xinyang's mouth finally revealed a trace of a smile and said, if that's the case, then I can rest assured. Some things should be settled as soon as possible. You young people are impatient. I still have to worry about these things for you. Tang Jing was confused and looked at her blankly. Feng Xinyang coughed and said in an earth-shattering manner, since both of you are in love with each other and we as your parents don't have any opinions, we really want to see both of you together. So let's find an auspicious day. Aunt Feng, what do you mean? The more Tang Jing listened, the more he felt that something was wrong, especially when he heard the words, auspicious day. He immediately thought of the beating of gongs and drums to welcome the bride, so he immediately interrupted her. Feng Xinyang smiled and said, isn't this for your own good? Find an auspicious date and you two can get engaged. Then after you graduate you can get married. Isn't this a wonderful thing? Tang Jing was dumbfounded. His mouth opened so wide that a duck egg could be stuffed in it. He looked at Feng Xinyang in disbelief. He never expected that she was here to urge him to get married. Feng Xinyang's actions had always been unpredictable, but Tang Jing had never thought that she would actually come to urge him to get married. This was too fierce. For a moment he didn't know how to answer. Feng Xinyang urged, little handsome boy, I know you're shy but you're an adult. What's there to be shy about? I'll take care of it for you. You don't have to worry at all. Wait, Aunt Feng. Tang Jing hurriedly shouted, Aunt Feng, don't be hasty in this matter. Ding Dang and I are still students. This will have a bad influence. Feng Xinyang didn't find it strange and said, what does it matter? Nowadays there are even college students who have children. It's just an engagement. Tang Jing coughed a few times and almost choked on his own saliva. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, Aunt Feng, I know you're good to me but I'm really not mentally prepared. Let's wait a little longer. Feng Xinyang's smile gradually disappeared. She stared at Tang Jing and seriously said, little handsome boy, are you dissatisfied with Ding Dang? Absolutely not. Tang Jing shook his head like a rattled drum. Since you're not dissatisfied, then all the more you have to be together. You have to be together in a legitimate manner. Feng Xinyang said. And Feng, this matter is really too urgent. Seeing Tang Jing continue to evade, Feng Xinyang knew that if she continued to push things would become worse. She resentfully said, fine, but when you graduate I'll look for you again. At that time you can't use your age as an excuse. But, I can accept it if you give me a little grandson in the next few years. Tang Jing's legs went soft and he almost fell to the ground. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at her. Is Yi Ding Dang your biological daughter? How could you cheat your own daughter like this? However, when it came to giving birth he became vigilant. He didn't use any safety measures and the women didn't fall for it. This was a great fortune. He couldn't be so willful in the future. Tang Jing found an excuse to escape. He was afraid that she would say something shocking. Feng Xinyang looked at his receding figure and helplessly shook her head. She had to think of another way to deal with this matter slowly. Suddenly, he had an idea and looked at the villa beside him. That's right, how could I be so stupid? Taking care of the little handsome brother is not easy, but I can first take care of the old Gramps. When the time comes that the old Gramps will acknowledge Ding Dong's identity and position, then wouldn't everything be set in stone? Her eyes lit up. She pulled Yi Tianlei and rushed to the villa beside her. Tang Jing let out a long sigh of relief. Feng Xinyang's vigor was beyond his imagination. Looking at his frightened face, Marshall walked over and asked, what happened to you? Tang Jing squeezed out a smile and said it's nothing. Nana jumped from the second floor like a little swallow and directly flew into his arms. She said intimately, Big brother, quickly take me to play. I have to go to school in a few days. At that time, I won't have time to play with Big brother. Nana was about to go to primary school and had already contacted the school. Therefore this was her last time to play. Tang Jing moved his head and said, all right, let's go outside and play. Big brother is going to set up a formation. You can watch from the side, okay? What is a formation? Nana tilted her head and asked curiously. Nana is still young. She will know when she grows up. Oh, Nan replied, a little disappointed. Marshall asked curiously, what kind of formation are you going to set up? Tang Jing pointed to the large area outside and said, these buildings are all inhabited by our people. For safety reasons I'm going to set up a formation. In addition, the smog in the capital is so serious. I also plan to add a spirit gathering array to improve the air here. Marshall nodded happily, That's a good idea. I'll take a look with you and broaden my horizons. Tang Jing originally only planned to set up a spirit-gathering array to improve the air, but after thinking about it he felt that it was far from enough. This place had been attacked time and time again. If there was a defensive formation, once the formation was activated, it would be able to protect everyone, as if an external enemy had invaded. Although he did not know many formations, he could not beat the inner demons and Chiyu. These two people had countless formations in their minds, so any one of them would be enough. The few of them arrived outside the villa and walked around a few villas. Then he had an idea in his heart. Chiyu, if the great heavenly cycle primordial array is not as powerful as you say, I will look for you to settle the score. Tang Jing said. Chiyu seemed to have been greatly insulted as he indignantly said, Tang Jing, it's fine if you don't know anything, but you actually dare to look down on my great heavenly cycle primordial array. Do you know that my camp was set up with this array? No enemy can quietly break through the array. Tang Jing smiled and did not refute, waiting to see how it would turn out. The inner demons did not refute this time. Instead they helped Chiyu and said, I'll say something fair. This great heavenly cycle primordial array is indeed a first-class formation. Chiyu did not exaggerate. Inner demons, you're finally willing to speak the truth for once. Chiyu said. The inner demons retorted, when have I ever not spoken the truth? Nana looked carefully. Tang Jing took out a piece of jade and flicked it with his finger. Whoosh! The jade stone flew out and entered a bush, disappearing without a trace. Big brother, is this how you set up a formation? Tang Jing smiled and nodded his head. The formation is a very complicated system, and in order to have the corresponding function, one must have the support of energy. These jade stones contain a certain amount of energy, and when we set up these jade stones according to a certain position and location, once the formation is activated, it will be able to play the corresponding role. But setting up a formation is a very delicate job, especially the more complicated the formation is, the more it requires that there is not the slightest mistake. Otherwise the formation will not succeed. Nana nodded her head as if she understood. She clenched her snow-white teeth as if she wanted to firmly remember these words in her heart. Marshall also thoughtfully remembered everything. She was a martial artist and could not set up a formation like Tang Jing. Moreover, her interest in formations was far weaker than her interest in martial arts. She believed that the best defense was offense, and no matter how powerful a formation was, it was still a defensive line. Just looking at Tang Jing's serious expression, the sunlight falling on his body, giving him a very enchanting feeling. Big brother, can I try? Suddenly Nana asked restlessly. Tang Jing muttered to himself for a moment, then placed a jade stone in her hand and said, Nana, put the jade stone in that place. Looking at the direction Tang Jing pointed at, Nana held her breath and silently circulated her energy. Imitating Tang Jing, she flicked her finger. Whoosh! The jade stone turned into a ray of white light and flew into the target area. Wow, I also succeeded. Big brother, do you think I did well? Nana excitedly jumped up. Tang Jing nodded his head in approval, patted her little head and praised, Nana is very smart, you can do it as soon as I say it. He had to admit that Nana was already a world of difference compared to other children of the same age. Just that move just now, no matter if it was strength or angle, it could be considered beautiful. Suddenly he had an idea and said, Nana, when you go to school, you can't show these skills in front of other people, otherwise you will scare the other children. Nana seemed to understand but not understand. She looked up at Tang Jing and said, Why? Because you are stronger than them, we can't use these skills to bully the weak, do you understand? Nana thought for a moment and said, Is it like the heroes on TV, we have to help the weak so we can't bully the weak? Tang Jing laughed. Nana is very smart, you even learned the phrase, help the weak and help the strong. And we are not afraid of danger or the strong, but we can't use the strong to bully the weak. Nana nodded her head. Nana understands, I will definitely remember Big Brother's words. Tang Jing unhurriedly completed the rest of the work. All of the jade stones were inserted into the corresponding locations. He stood in the middle of the array and activated his true chi. Circulating his power, his 10 fingers slightly bent, and coincidentally flicked open at the same time. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, 10 streams of true chi burst out from his fingers and entered 10 different directions at the same time. Wah! Chapter 1044. Vice Principal Pang's face turned red as he roared, You're Tang Jing, right? Not only did you disregard the law, but you also dared to talk back to me. As the vice principal, I can tell you right now that Yenqing University doesn't need students like you. Tang Jing sneered, "Is that so?" "Yes. Yenqing University doesn't need students like you who disregard the law and respect their elders. You can just wait to be expelled." Vice Principal Pang's voice was getting louder and louder. It was even a little shrill. It seemed that this was the only way to show off his authority. "I also hit someone. You can expel me too." Fang Shishir stepped forward and stood beside Tang Jing. Her face was full of anger. Seeing her beloved being wronged, one could imagine the anger in her heart. "I also hit someone. Expel me if you have the guts. If you don't, you're a coward." Yi Dingdong's small face was red from anger. She wanted nothing more than to punch Vice Principal Pang in the face. Vice Principal Pang was dazzled by the two beauties who stepped forward. They were simply too beautiful. If it were any other time, he would definitely hold their hands and teach them with all his heart and soul. However, Yi Dingdong's clamor made him feel embarrassed. If he didn't expel them, he would be a coward. He didn't want to be called a coward on his first day as a new official. He was about to passionately reprimand them and make them realize their mistake. However, a person suddenly appeared from the crowd. His body was as tall as a mountain. He shouted angrily, "I also hit someone. You can expel me too." Tang Jing turned his head to look, so it was the dorm's second brother, Do Long Sinosaurus, and the others were also welcoming the new students. When they heard the commotion, they ran over and happened to see this scene. Blood rushed to his head and he didn't hesitate to stand up for his brother. Vice Principal Pang looked at Sinosaurus in surprise. "You clearly squeezed in from the back. How could you be the one who hit someone?" Before he could figure out the situation, he saw two people squeezing in. Wang Shiji and Zhou Yan had a tacit understanding and said in unison, "I also hit someone, you should fire me too." Vice Principal Pang's face darkened. He finally understood that these people were in cahoots with Tang Jing. They were here to kick up a fuss and embarrass him. Who was Vice Principal Pang? How could such a scene scare him? Therefore he said in a deep voice, "All right, since you've admitted it, then wait for the school's punishment. Yenqing University doesn't need students like you." As soon as his voice fell, a few more people squeezed in, but they were all beautiful girls. Each of them was like a fearless warrior, standing behind Tang Jing without hesitation, and said in a loud and resonant voice, "I also hit people, you should fire me too." Tang Jing looked at them gratefully. They were Yi Dingdong's roommates. The few of them nodded encouragingly at Tang Jing. His actions today had truly won their respect and recognition. Vice Principal Pang was at a loss. Just who was this brat? Why did so many people stand out for him? These people must be in cahoots. That's why they're so united. If it was anyone else, they would definitely admit defeat. But I've seen all kinds of storms. You guys are too inexperienced to play such tricks in front of me. Vice Principal Pang snorted in disdain. "All right, since that's the case, then I'll fulfill your wishes." Vice Principal Pang roared majestically. He felt like an ancient emperor who ruled over the life and death of others. This feeling was extremely satisfying. The other students looked at each other with red eyes. Even the girls stood out for injustice. Could it be that they, as grown men, were not as brave as the girls? One by one, the students clenched their fists. Suddenly, a person took a few steps forward and stood behind Tang Jing. He said fearlessly, "I also hit people, you should fire me too." Vice Principal Pang was stunned as he stared at this fearless fellow with a murderous gaze. He thought to himself, "I'll fulfill your wishes." But before he could say anything, he saw students one by one walk behind Tang Jing, loudly shouting, "I also hit people, you should also expel me." The crowd was stirred up and their voices rose and fell one after another. This was the most sincere expression of a student's emotions and instinctive support, but often many people would snort in disdain, but seeing over 100 people working together to support Tang Jing, one would know who was right and who was wrong, and what the people's hearts were. When the new students reported in, there were many parents accompanying them. When they saw this scene, they couldn't help but feel excited. It was as if they had returned to the time when they were young and full of vigor. The edges and corners that had been worn away by life over the years seemed to have grown back. With a red face, they said to their children, "Do you see that? This is the spirit of the university." Many of the new students were boiling with passion as they threw down their suitcases and rushed behind Tang Jing. They shouted, "I also hit people, you should fire me too." When the parents saw their children's actions, not only did they not blame them, they even revealed gratified expressions. Most of the people in Wuxia had such genes and blood hidden in their bones. They just needed an opportunity to trigger it. There was no doubt that this accidental incident had become a trigger, arousing their long-hidden hot blood. Vice Principal Pang stared at the scene in disbelief as if he had been struck dumb. He never expected that the students would be so united. This kind of strength made his heart tremble as he felt a long-lost fear. However, he immediately suppressed this absurd thought. His face darkened, and he thought to himself, fanning the flames, these students can't be allowed to stay. The law doesn't punish the majority of the people. As long as I tell them the pros and cons, these people will naturally know to be afraid. But he couldn't see the people behind him due to the dense crowd, so his voice couldn't be heard. Suddenly he had an idea as he saw the Mercedes-Benz. He quickly climbed on top of the car and looked down at the crowd. He waved his hand and shouted, "Quiet. Everyone quiet. Listen to me. I know that most of you are good students, so don't be bewitched by a bad student. This is irresponsible to you and your parents. Everyone disperse. We weren't bewitched by others. We have our own judgment and sense of right and wrong. We're doing this to be responsible to ourselves and our parents." Someone refuted. "That's right. I'm the master of my life. It's not up to you to tell me what to do. Get lost. Our Yenqing University doesn't need a leader like you." "That's right. This kind of leader is the shame of Yenqing University. He's helping outsiders to suppress his own students. How shameless." Vice Principal Pang panicked when he heard the complaints. Things seemed to be out of his control and prediction. "What right do you have to be so high and mighty? What right do you have to tell us what to do? You're nothing. You don't have the right." The students were even angrier when they saw him looking down on them. Suddenly, a loud and clear voice sounded. "Rise up, people who don't want to be slaves." The voice completely ignited everyone's emotions. It was as if they had returned to the Wuxia era when they were bullied. Everyone's eyes were red and they looked at Vice Principal Pang as if he was an invader. "Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. We're united, braving the enemy's gunfire. Advance. 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 Advance." The voice seemed to come from the chest and the heart. It was filled with endless power. It made people's blood boil and tears brim in their eyes. When the last 3 lines of "Advance" were sung, all the students took a step forward in unison. The uniform footsteps were like the sound of iron hooves stomping on Vice Principal Pang's heart. It made his heartstrings tremble and his face turn pale. The few Koreans were completely scared silly. This earth-shattering aura and grand and resonant singing made them see the spirit of the Chinese people, the Chinese soul that made people tremble at the mere mention of the name. Park Sherhoon couldn't care less about his pain. He rolled and crawled into the car and didn't dare to show his face. The arrogance from before was gone. What was left was deep shock and fear. The few of them curled up together and looked at each other, trembling. Vice Principal Pang's face turned pale. He didn't expect the students in China to be so powerful. Listening to the deafening voice, he felt as if thousands of knives were falling on his head. He suddenly had an ominous feeling. It seemed that things weren't as simple as he thought. Looking at the high and mighty Vice Principal Pang, the students' emotions reached a peak. One of them shouted, "Do you think you're superior just because you're standing so high? And those Koreans, do you think everything will be fine after they hide in the car? Smash the car and drag them out." Everyone echoed, "Yes, smash their car and drag them out. Let's see how they can still be so high and mighty." About 100 people rushed toward the 2 luxury cars. Bang! Everyone picked up the tools they had and smashed them on the car. The glass shattered and the car was dented. In a short while it looked like the surface of the moon. Vice Principal Pang stood on the roof of the car. He was still in shock. He felt like he was a small boat in the middle of the ocean. He could be overturned by the waves at any time and be smashed to pieces. At this time he didn't have the energy to rebuke. Even the security guards were scared. They kept retreating and didn't dare to stop them. Vice Principal Pang scrambled down from the roof of the car and hid among the security guards. He trembled as he looked at the scene. He was angry and scared. "Come out. Are you a coward? Hiding in the car?" Park Sherhoon and the rest hid in the car. They didn't dare to come out. "If they don't come out, drag them out and smash the car door." Bang, bang, bang. The sound of knocking on the car door was like knocking on their hearts. They were terrified to the extreme. They curled up in a ball. Without a doubt, this would be a nightmare that would accompany them for the rest of their lives. "I'll do it." Chapter 1045. Seeing that Feng Xinyang was staring at him, Tang Jing thought that something big had happened. He quickly restrained his expression and became serious. "Little handsome brother, how are things going between you and Ding Dang?" Tang Jing was greatly embarrassed. Why would she ask such a question? If it was someone else, he could refuse to answer. However, the other party was Feng Xinyang. He simply could not refuse. After thinking for a while, he said, "We're pretty good." Pretty good? Why did I hear that she has some conflicts with that princess and? Tang Jing's eyes widened as he said in his heart, "You even know this?" Feng Xinyang gave him a look that said, "I've already seen through everything. Don't lie to me." She continued, "Ding Dang is an impatient girl. She doesn't know how to beat around the bush. If she does anything wrong, you have to bear with her." Tang Jing nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. "Aunt Feng, don't worry. Ding Dang is very sensible." Feng Xinyang's mouth finally revealed a trace of a smile and said, "If that's the case, then I can rest assured. Some things should be settled as soon as possible. You young people are impatient. I still have to worry about these things for you." Tang Jing was confused. He looked at her blankly. Feng Xinyang coughed and said in an earth-shattering manner, "Since you two are in love with each other, we as your parents have no objections. We are very willing to see you two truly come together. So, find an auspicious date." "Aunt Feng, what do you mean?" The more Tang Jing listened, the more he felt that something was wrong. Especially when he heard the words auspicious date, he immediately associated it with the beating of gongs and drums to welcome the bride. He immediately interrupted her. Feng Xinyang smiled and said, "Isn't this for your own good? Find an auspicious date and you two can get engaged. Then after you graduate you can get married. Isn't this a wonderful thing?" Tang Jing was dumbfounded. His mouth opened so wide that a duck egg could be stuffed in it. He looked at Feng Xinyang in disbelief. He never expected that she was here to urge him to get married. Feng Xinyang's actions had always been unpredictable, but Tang Jing had never thought that she would actually come to urge him to get married. This was too fierce. For a moment he didn't know how to answer. Feng Xinyang urged, "Little handsome boy, I know you're shy but you're an adult. What's there to be shy about? I'll take care of it for you. You don't have to worry at all." "Wait, Aunt Feng." Tang Jing hurriedly shouted, "Aunt Feng, don't be hasty in this matter. Ding Dang and I are still students. This will have a bad influence." Feng Xinyang didn't find it strange and said, "What does this matter? Nowadays there are even university students who have children. It's just an engagement." Tang Jing coughed a few times and almost choked on his own saliva. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, "Aunt Feng, I know you're good to me but I really wasn't mentally prepared. Let's wait a little longer." Feng Xinyang's smile gradually disappeared. She stared at Tang Jing and seriously said, "Little handsome boy, are you dissatisfied with Ding Dang?" "Absolutely not." Tang Jing shook his head like a rattle drum. "Since you are not dissatisfied, then all the more reason we should be together. We should be together in a proper manner." Feng Xinyang made the final decision. "Aunt Feng, this matter is too urgent." Seeing Tang Jing continue to evade, Feng Xinyang knew that if she continued to push things would get worse. She resentfully said, "Fine, but after you graduate I'll look for you again. At that time you can't use your age as an excuse. But, hey, if you guys give me a little grandson in the next few years, then I can accept it." Tang Jing's legs went soft and he almost fell to the ground. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at her. "Is Yi Ding Dang your biological daughter? How could you cheat your daughter like this?" However, when it came to giving birth he became vigilant. He didn't use any safety measures and none of the women were pregnant. This was a great fortune. He couldn't be so willful in the future. Tang Jing found an excuse and fled. He was afraid that she would say something shocking. Feng Xinyang looked at his receding figure and helplessly shook her head. She had to think of another way to deal with this matter slowly. Suddenly, he had an idea and looked at the villa beside him. "That's right, how could I be so stupid? Taking care of the little handsome brother is not easy, but I can first take care of the old Gramps. When the time comes that the old Gramps will acknowledge Ding Dong's identity and position, then wouldn't everything be set in stone?" Her eyes lit up as she pulled Yi Tianlei and rushed to the villa. Tang Jing let out a long sigh of relief. Feng Xinyang's fierceness was beyond his imagination. Looking at his frightened expression, Marshall walked over and asked, "What happened to you?" Tang Jing squeezed out a smile and said that he was fine. Nana jumped from the second floor like a little swallow and threw herself into his arms. She affectionately said, "Brother, quickly take me out to play. In a few days I will have to go to school. At that time I won't have time to play with brother." Nana was about to go to primary school. She had already contacted the school so this was her last time to play. Tang Jing moved his head and said, "All right, let's go outside to play. Brother wants to set up a formation. You can watch from the side, okay? What is a formation? Nana tilted her head and asked. Nana is still young. When she grows up, she will naturally know. Nana made an "oh" sound and was a little disappointed. Marshall curiously asked, what kind of formation are you going to set up? Tang Jing pointed to the large area outside and said, these buildings are inhabited by our people. For safety reasons, I'm going to set up a formation. In addition, the smog in the capital is so serious. I plan to add a spirit-gathering formation to improve the air here. Marshall happily nodded. This method is not bad. I will also take a look with you and broaden my horizons. Tang Jing originally only planned to set up a spirit-gathering formation to improve the air, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was far from enough. This place had been attacked time and time again. If there was a defensive formation, once the formation was activated, it would be able to protect everyone, as if an external enemy had invaded. Although he did not know many formations, he could not beat the inner demons and Chiyu. These two people had countless formations in their minds, so any one of them would be enough. The few of them arrived outside the villa and walked around a few villas. Then he had an idea in his heart. Chiyu, if the great heavenly cycle primordial formation is not as powerful as you say, I will find you to settle the score. Tang Jing said. Chiyu seemed to have been greatly insulted as he indignantly said, Tang Jing, it's fine if you don't know anything, but you actually dare to look down on my great heavenly cycle primordial formation. Do you know that my camp was set up with this formation? No enemy can quietly break through the formation. Tang Jing smiled and did not refute, waiting to see how it would turn out. The inner demons did not refute this time. Instead, they helped Chiyu and said, I will say something fair. This great heavenly cycle primordial formation is indeed a first-class formation. Chiyu was not exaggerating. Inner demons, you are finally willing to speak the truth for once. Chiyu said. The inner demons retorted, when have I not spoken the truth? Nana looked carefully. Tang Jing took out a piece of jade and flicked it with his finger. Whoosh! The jade flew out and sank into a bush, disappearing without a trace. Big brother, is this how you set up a formation? Tang Jing smiled and nodded his head. The formation is a very complicated system, and to have the corresponding function, one must have the support of energy. These jade stones contain a certain amount of energy, and when we place these jade stones according to a certain position and location, once the formation is activated, it will be able to play the corresponding role. But setting up a formation is a very delicate job, especially the more complicated the formation is, the more it requires that there is not the slightest mistake. Otherwise, the formation will not succeed. Nana nodded her head as if she understood. She clenched her snow-white teeth as if she wanted to firmly remember these words in her heart. Marshall also thoughtfully remembered everything. She was a martial artist and could not set up a formation like Tang Jing. Moreover, her interest in formations was far weaker than her interest in martial arts. She believed that the best defense was offense, and no matter how strong a formation was, it was still a defensive line. Just looking at Tang Jing's serious expression, the sunlight falling on his body, glowing and giving off a very enchanting feeling. Big brother, can I give it a try? Suddenly Nana eagerly asked. Tang Jing pondered for a moment, then handed a jade stone to her hand and said, Nana, put the jade stone in that place. Looking at the direction Tang Jing pointed at, Nana held her breath and silently circulated her energy. Imitating Tang Jing, she flicked her finger. Whoosh! The jade stone turned into a ray of white light and flew into the target area. Wow, I also succeeded. Big brother, do you think I did well? Nana excitedly jumped up. Tang Jing nodded his head in approval, patted her little head and praised, Nana is very smart, you can do it as soon as I say it. He had to admit that Nana and other children of the same age were already worlds apart. Just that move of hers, whether it was strength or angle, could be considered beautiful. Suddenly he had an idea and said, Nana, when you go to school, you can't show these skills in front of other people, otherwise you will scare the other children. Nana seemed to understand, but not fully. She looked up at Tang Jing and said, Why? Because you are stronger than them, we can't use these skills to bully the weak, do you understand? Nana thought for a moment and said, Is it like the heroes on TV, we have to help the weak so we can't bully the weak? Tang Jing laughed. Nana is very smart, you even learned the words help the weak. And we are not afraid of danger or the strong, but we can't bully the weak. Nana nodded her head. Nana understands, I will definitely remember Big Brother's words. Tang Jing unhurriedly completed the rest of the work. All of the jade stones were inserted into the corresponding locations. He stood in the middle of the array and urged his chi, circulated his martial arts, and his 10 fingers slightly bent as if by prior agreement, he flicked them open. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, 10 streams of true chi burst out from his fingers and entered 10 different directions at the same time. Wah! Chapter 1046. The aura of the heavens and earth instantly changed, and the foul air in the air quickly melted away. A vortex appeared in the sky, and the vast and mighty spirit chi fell from the center of the vortex, directly fusing into the huge light shield. Wu took a deep breath and exclaimed, "Wow, the air is so fresh." Nana also hurriedly nodded and said, "This feels so comfortable. The sun doesn't seem so hot anymore." A cool breeze blew over. This feeling was especially obvious. It was as if they had come to another world. It was completely different from the scorching heat from before. Tang Jing did not expect the effect to be so good. This great heavenly cycle primordial array also had a spirit gathering array. The two arrays perfectly merged into one. This kind of ability was not something an ordinary person could do. It was only under Qi Yu's guidance that Tang Jing was able to do it so easily. Hee Tang Jing, what do you think? I didn't lie to you, right? My great heavenly cycle primordial array is not something an ordinary array can compare to. Qi Yu proudly said. This is only on the surface. As for how strong its defensive power is, it still needs to be tested. Although Tang Jing already believed Qi Yu's words, he could not help but strike a blow. Towards Qi Yu he could not wantonly praise him. Otherwise, his tail would rise to the sky. Qi Yu heavily snorted a few times, but there was nothing he could do about it. When the others saw this scene, they all walked out of the house and suspiciously looked up. The light barrier and whirlpool in the sky had already become very faint. If one did not focus, they would not be able to see it clearly. Moreover, it was still becoming fainter. Everyone looked at Tang Jing. Without a doubt, this scene was most likely caused by him. Everyone, don't panic. I only set up a large array. Tang Jing loudly explained. The people living here were all his own people, so he did not need to worry about speaking. Wu Junshan curiously asked, "What is the use of this array?" "It improves the air in this area and protects everyone." You don't say. The air has really become fresh. It's like being in a mountain forest. Feng Xinyang took a deep breath and exclaimed. The others also noticed this and their faces were full of surprise. This is only the beginning. The longer this formation operates, the better the air quality here will become, and it won't be affected by the outside world. Sai, the air quality in the capital is really bad. When will it be like here? Yi Tianlei sighed with disappointment and frustration. Feng Xinyang glared at him and said, "You're the only one who cares about the country and the people." Tang Jing smiled and said, "Uncle Yi, don't worry. In the near future, our air quality will become the same as in ancient times. No matter where we go, it will be like being in a mountain forest." He believed that the Tree of Life could do this. "I hope I can see it in my lifetime," Yi Tianlei said. Lan Yu retracted her gaze. The strange phenomenon in the sky had completely disappeared. The clouds were calm as if nothing had happened. She asked, "You said that this formation can protect everyone, so it has a defensive ability. How strong is its defensive ability?" "Everyone can give it a try," Tang Jing suggested. He also wanted to know how strong this primordial heavenly cycle array was. "Alright then, let's give it a try." Everyone walked out of the array. Some people walked quickly, and when they reached the edge of the array, they were bounced back with a bang. The others looked at this scene in surprise. They knew that this was the effect of the array. This array doesn't only have a defensive ability against the outside world. Once the array is activated, even the people inside will leave. Tang Jing explained. Then isn't this very inconvenient? We'll be cut off from the world. Although it was only a step outside and they could see everything clearly, they couldn't leave at all. This array was a bit useless. Tang Jing had already thought of this point, so he already had a countermeasure. He said, "These are some jade stones that I made. In the future, everyone who enters and exits the array must wear jade stones. The array will automatically recognize them. Without jade stones, there is no way for people to enter or exit. These jade stones are a type of identification tool." Tang Jing spread out his hands. His palms were filled with sparkling jade stones. "I've also carved some small defensive formations into these jade stones. They can withstand a certain amount of attacks. They're equivalent to protective talismans." "That's great, then we'll accept it." Feng Xinyang took a piece of jade stone and played with it non-stop, as if she wanted to find some clues, but with her eyes she couldn't find anything. She carefully wore it on her body and walked out of the array with large strides. She walked out of the formation safe and sound. She looked back and said happily, "It really worked." The others also took out the jade stones and wore them on their bodies. Sure enough, they could enter and leave freely. In this way, this area was equivalent to Tang Zheng's small kingdom. Outsiders had no way to enter or leave. Fortunately, this area was sparsely populated, and a few houses had already been bought by Tang Zheng. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for him to do this. Right now, the people who lived here were all closely related to him. Other than his family, there were also the warriors of the Witch clan. They were all on his side. You can try to attack the array from outside and see what effect it has. Tang Zheng reminded. Feng Xinyang couldn't wait any longer. She slapped the air with her palm. Although there was nothing, she felt a strong rebounding force. Pung, she was bounced back and flew far away. She staggered and landed on the ground. Feng Xinyang was very clear about her own strength. This palm strike was enough to split open a boulder, but she did not expect that it would still be bounced back. All of the force was used on her own palm. If not for her profound strength, she would have been injured by her own palm. When the others saw this scene, they understood the power of the array and stopped underestimating it. Lan Yu stood outside the array and held her breath. She channeled her power and pointed out a finger. A terrifying power burst out from her fingertip and directly tore through the air, fiercely striking the array. Boom. The array shook violently. A ray of light flashed and then quieted down. Lan Yu's attack still did not break the array. Her eyes could not help but reveal a strange look. The power of this attack was much stronger than Feng Xinyang's attack. She did not continue probing but nodded in satisfaction. This array is indeed powerful. With the array's defense, at least the enemy will not be able to sneak attack us. This was the most important point. Facing a top-notch expert, this array would definitely not be able to block it. However, it could stall for time and even cause a huge commotion. This was enough for the others to rush over and provide support. Tang Zheng agreed, "That makes sense. Just how strong of an attack can this array of yours withstand?" Wu Junshan asked curiously. Tang Zheng was not in a hurry to answer because he did not know the answer himself. He could only ask Qiyu. Qiyu seemed to be a little angry because of Tang Zheng's distrust and deliberately did not say, "You can figure this out yourself." Tang Zheng helplessly shrugged and said, "We can only slowly figure this out. When the time comes and we meet the enemy, we will know." The others looked at each other, but this was not a big deal, so they did not bother with it. Everyone was not tired of moving around inside and outside the array. It was very refreshing. In the evening, when Yi Dingdang, Fang Shishir, Lu Qingmei and An returned, they were also very interested and excitedly moved around for a while before finally stopping. Yi Dingdang was dragged back by Feng Xinyang. It seemed that the mother and daughter were preparing to talk through the night again. At the same time, inside the palace, the lights were brightly lit. The bureau chief looked at the sect leader in front of him with a grave expression and fiercely slammed the teacup on the table. With a bang, he said with dissatisfaction, "Didn't you say that you were very powerful? How come you couldn't even kill one Ji Wuxiang and were saved by Tang Zheng in the end?" It was the bureau chief's order to get rid of Ji Wuxiang because Ji Wuxiang was the opponent's white glove. Getting rid of him would be a great help to the opponent. However, he did not expect that even the sect leader could not succeed. This made him very shocked and very angry. The sect leader's eyes were as calm as an ancient well. He said lightly, "It was my mistake this time. The opponent had Tang Zheng's help. That's why they managed to escape." "It's Tang Zheng again." The bureau chief finally could not take it anymore and threw the teacup on the ground. With a bang, the teacup shattered and tea splashed everywhere. Number 1 stood at the door and trembled in fear. Recently, the bureau chief seemed to be angrier and angrier. However, there was nothing he could do. He could only be more careful, afraid of angering the bureau chief. The sect leader was not afraid at all and continued, "Tang Zheng is the biggest hidden danger. If this person is not eliminated, neither you nor I will be able to rest in peace." The bureau chief snorted and said, "It's not up to you to decide how to deal with him. I have my own plans. Since we've already alerted the enemy, it won't be easy to deal with Ji Wuxiang. Therefore, I will not act rashly during this period of time." Another thing worth noting is that Tang Zheng went to the Yi residence today and caused a ruckus there. This was definitely not done on a whim. He always does things with a purpose. Therefore, this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated. The sect leader reminded. The bureau chief rolled his eyes and stared at the sect leader, saying, "The Yi residence already has a grudge with Tang Zheng. What's wrong with Tang Zheng causing a ruckus in the Yi residence? It's better to investigate some things clearly. Otherwise, if we miss something important, it will be too late to regret it in the future. The sect leader said disapprovingly. The bureau chief muttered to himself. Although he was very angry with the sect leader, he had to admit that the sect leader was very capable. Naturally, his foresight was not bad. Since he brought up this matter, it was definitely not without reason. Okay, I'll ask Yi Xuanji now. The bureau chief dialed Yi Xuanji's number in front of the sect leader. Old Yi, I heard that Tang Zheng went to cause a ruckus in the Yi residence today? This person is really becoming more and more arrogant. It's too outrageous. The bureau chief asked. The bureau chief personally called me to show concern. I Yi Xuanji am really grateful. Tang Zheng just likes to find trouble. I've already chased him away. Yi Xuanji said shamelessly. He was not embarrassed to lie at all. How was Tang Zheng chased away by him? He was purely trying to save face. The bureau chief did not care about these details and said, then what did he want? Chapter 1047. The chess piece landed and a sudden change occurred. A tyrannical force once again struck the High Lord's body, and blood seeped out from under his clothes, forming a dark red patch. You. The High Lord gasped for breath. His breathing became extremely hurried and chaotic, and he was actually unable to say a complete sentence. He propped himself up with his palm on the ground, turned into a ray of light, and fiercely rushed towards Ji Wuxiang. Stop. Tang Zheng shouted loudly, the sun-shooting arrow and heaven-shocking bow in his hands. The bowstring trembled, the sun-shooting arrow flew out like a meteor, arriving in front of Ji Wuxiang in the blink of an eye. Ji Wuxiang's face changed. How did your sun-shooting arrow become so powerful? Tang Zheng sneered. With a thought, the speed of the sun-shooting arrow increased. The High Lord flipped in the air, the sun-shooting arrow brushing past his scalp. However, before he could rejoice, he saw the sun-shooting arrow turn back in midair. His expression changed greatly as he looked at the sun-shooting arrow and Tang Zheng in disbelief. This was even more powerful than he had expected. Seeing the sun-shooting arrow flying over again, and Ji Wuxiang opening his mouth as if he was about to speak again, his expression turned cold. He looked at Tang Zheng hatefully, then looked at Ji Wuxiang unwillingly, turned around and left. Like a whirlwind, he flew up and over the courtyard wall. Boom! The sun-shooting arrow missed and shot into the corner of the wall. After a loud sound, a huge hole appeared at the foot of the wall, and gravel flew into the air. Tang Zheng stomped his foot in hatred and said indignantly, the High Lord is too shameless. Once he finds out that something is wrong, he actually runs away. Is he addicted to being a deserter? You ran away last time and now you're running away again. Tang Zheng was very clear that the High Lord was not completely afraid of the power of the shooting sun arrow. Although the shooting sun arrow was a saint tool with Tang Zheng's strength, it was not enough to truly threaten the High Lord. The High Lord was clearly afraid of Ji Wuxiang and Tang Zheng joining forces. With the celestial chess and Tang Zheng attacking together, the power of the shooting sun arrow would naturally increase greatly. Even the High Lord would not dare to underestimate it. The other players were sweating profusely, as if they had just been fished out of the water. Their stiff faces finally showed a hint of relaxation. It was obvious that the battle just now was a great test for them. Young Master Tang, thank you for your timely arrival. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to see tomorrow's sunrise. Ji Wuxiang heaved a long sigh and expressed his gratitude. Tang Zheng shook his head slightly. President Ji's words are too serious. Your celestial chess is very powerful. Even if I didn't come, I'm afraid that we might not have failed. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly. Young Master Tang, you've only seen the surface, but you haven't seen the inside. Although we seem to be able to hold on, we definitely wouldn't have been able to hold on for long without your help. Tang Zheng frowned and asked, why didn't you say that the celestial chess is very powerful? The High Lord wanted to use the celestial chess to deal with Tang Zheng and the others, including the Empyrean Fairy and Tian Chanzi. From this, it could be seen that the celestial chess was very powerful, so how could the High Lord not be able to deal with it? This did not make sense. Ji Wuxiang said resentfully, you only know part of the story but not the whole story. It's true that the celestial chess is very powerful, but we didn't even use the celestial chess true power. What we did just now was only the tip of the iceberg. To truly use the celestial chess true power, it would require a lot of complicated and harsh conditions. Oh, I'd like to hear the details. What did Director Ji mean by Fekta and Merak just now? Tang Zheng asked curiously as he stared at Ji Wuxiang with burning eyes. Ji Wuxiang did not hesitate and said openly, This is the celestial chess moves. Fekta and Merak represent each move. The celestial chess has a total of 7 moves, which are Dubhi, Merak, Fekta, Migrez, Aliyaf, Mizar, and Alkaid. Each move has its own internal connections and changes. Only those who practice the celestial chess on a daily basis can master its mysteries and use its corresponding power. I am the core of the celestial chess, so all the celestial chess players have to listen to my orders to place their pieces and move so that they can use its great power. The power of the celestial chess can be big or small. It can be limited to a courtyard, but it can also be expanded to a city. Tang Jing nodded and suddenly realized, no wonder. Just now, I didn't notice anything strange outside the celestial chess club. So many people walked by and didn't notice anything strange. However, once you enter the celestial chess club, it's a completely different scene. It's truly a different world. Director G is truly a genius. Although I've only seen the tip of the iceberg of the celestial chess today, it's already left a deep impression on me. I believe the High Lord feels the same way. Young Master Tang, you flatter me. The celestial chess is indeed powerful, but it's only a half-finished product now. The High Lord will definitely have designs on the celestial chess. Although I stopped him once, I might not be able to stop him a second time. I'm not afraid of thieves stealing, but I'm afraid of thieves thinking about it. Ji Wuxiang said helplessly. Then why don't you seize the time to set up the celestial chess? At that time, even if the High Lord comes to attack, he might not be able to get anything out of it. Tang Jing disagreed. Ji Wuxiang fell silent. His expression kept changing as he hesitated to speak. Tang Jing looked at him with furrowed brows and said, Director Ji, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush. Ji Wuxiang stared at Tang Jing without blinking. After a long time he said, Since young Master Tang is so straightforward, then I won't beat around the bush. I hope young Master Tang can lend me a hand so that the celestial chess can truly be completed. At that time, no matter how powerful the High Lord is, he won't be able to threaten us anymore. Tang Jing didn't expect Ji Wuxiang to raise such a suggestion. For a moment he didn't know how to answer. He had always been wary of Ji Wuxiang, and Ji Wuxiang's words obviously didn't treat him as an outsider. If he helped Ji Wuxiang, then he would definitely have more opportunities to understand the celestial chess. In fact, Tang Jing was also quite interested in the celestial chess. Ji Wuxiang made it sound so powerful, but Tang Jing didn't understand the principles behind it. If he had a grudge with Ji Wuxiang in the future, then wouldn't Ji Wuxiang also use the celestial chess to deal with him? If he knew some of the key points and secrets of the celestial chess, then maybe he could counter Ji Wuxiang. Most importantly, he had Qi Yu and the inner demons in his body. These two's knowledge and insight were unquestionable. Even if he couldn't find any clues, these two would definitely gain a lot and tell him. At that time, it would be equivalent to him knowing. The inner demons urged, Young man, agree to his request. This celestial chess is very interesting. I want to see what's going on. Qi Yu snorted coldly and said with dissatisfaction, Just deliberately mystifying. The inner demons retorted, Qi Yu, don't go against your conscience just because you came to save him today. This celestial chess is something neither you nor I have ever seen before. Don't you want to see its secrets? Qi Yu was silent. The inner demons had hit the nail on the head. Haha, young man, you see he has nothing to say. This means that he can't refute me. My suggestion is to agree to his request and then figure out the secrets of the celestial chess. Maybe you can use the celestial chess in the future. Isn't that a good thing? There's no harm in having more skills. This saying has been passed down since ancient times. There's naturally a reason for it. Fine, I'll agree to his request. I want to see what's so great about this celestial chess. I don't want it to be just a trick to fool people in the end, Qi Yu said indignantly. Tang Jing pondered for a long time before coming to a decision. Since both of them agreed to his request, then agreeing would be more useful than refusing. Ji Wuxiang stared straight at Tang Jing, waiting for his answer. Okay, I'll agree to your request. However, I don't know how to play celestial chess. I may not be able to help you much. Tang Jing said without batting an eyelid. Ji Wuxiang was immediately overjoyed. His eyes lit up as he impatiently said, Young Master Tang is too modest. With your help, this celestial chess will definitely be completed soon. At that time, you'll be able to see the true face of the celestial chess. Ah, then I'll wait and see. What do you want to do next? Tang Jing smiled faintly. Ji Wuxiang turned his head and looked around. He pointed at the messy courtyard and said, I need to tidy up this place first. Although the chess club has been destroyed, the most important foundation is still here. Therefore, in a few days we can begin to set up the celestial chess. Do you need my help in the meantime? No need. How could I trouble young Master Tang with such a small matter? Tang Jing nodded and glanced at the other chess players. They had all turned back into puppets, sitting quietly in front of the chessboard and playing without any distractions. At this time, Tang Jing no longer dared to underestimate these seemingly weak chess players. When they worked together, the power they could unleash was frightening. Then I'll take my leave first. If there's anything else, we'll contact each other again. Tang Jing cupped his hands and took his leave. Ji Wuxiang walked him to the door. When he opened the door to the chess club, the clamor outside immediately traveled in. Just now, the inside of the door was incomparably quiet, as if it was another world. Now that the door was opened, the two worlds seemed to merge into one. It was truly incomparably miraculous. Tang Jing couldn't help but look forward to the upcoming cooperation even more. After leaving the chess club, Tang Jing asked Qiyu and the inner demons if the great desolate aura was still there. Qiyu said snappily, "Do you think the other party is an idiot? Since he has gotten rid of you, he will definitely think of a way to hide. Why would he show his face?" Tang Jing had also expected this result, but he could not guess who in the Ye family had been possessed. How was that possible? There were so many people in the Ye family, that would be too difficult. Moreover, if he went to the Ye family again, it would be useless. He had already caused a huge ruckus in the Ye family. If he went again, it might cause some sort of disturbance. On the contrary, it would cause Yi Tianlei's family to be in a dilemma. There are so many things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, and we have only found a few of them. What about the rest? Could it be that you really have no other choice but to sit at home and wait? Tang Jing asked unhappily. Qiyu and the inner demons naturally sensed his displeasure and hurriedly comforted him. That might not be the case. If you go to the famous mountains or walk around the various cities, perhaps we will be able to discover even more of the great desolate aura. Tang Jing rolled his eyes speechlessly. This is like looking for a needle in a haystack, do you know that? Where do I have that much time? Qiyu's heart skipped a beat and he suggested, "Didn't you already take the Li Palace under your command? Li Palace's eyes and ears are all over the world, and they are well informed. Let them gather abnormal information from all over the world, such as who suddenly became powerful, or what strange event that science cannot explain. This is a sign, and if we follow the map and identify the targets one by one, we will naturally be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort." Chapter 1048. The aura of the heavens and earth instantly changed, and the foul air in the air quickly melted away. A vortex appeared in the sky, and the vast and mighty spirit chi fell from the center of the vortex, directly fusing into the huge light shield. Wu took a deep breath and exclaimed, "Wow, the air is so fresh." Nana also hurriedly nodded and said, "This feels so comfortable. The sun doesn't seem so hot anymore." A cool breeze blew over. This feeling was especially obvious. It was as if they had come to another world. It was completely different from the scorching heat from before. Tang Jing did not expect the effect to be so good. This great heavenly cycle primordial array also had a spirit gathering array. The two arrays perfectly merged into one. This kind of ability was not something an ordinary person could do. It was only under Qiyu's guidance that Tang Jing was able to do it so easily. Hee Tang Jing, what do you think? I didn't lie to you, right? My great heavenly cycle primordial array is not something an ordinary array can compare to. Qiyu proudly said. This is only on the surface. As for how strong its defensive power is, it still needs to be tested. Although Tang Jing already believed Qiyu's words, he could not help but strike a blow. Towards Qiyu he could not wantonly praise him. Otherwise, his tail would be raised to the sky. Qiyu heavily snorted a few times, but there was nothing he could do. When the others saw this scene, they all walked out of the house and suspiciously looked up. The light barrier and whirlpool in the sky had already become very faint. If one did not focus, they would not be able to see it clearly. Moreover, it was still becoming fainter. Everyone looked at Tang Jing. Without a doubt, this scene was most likely caused by him. Everyone, don't panic. I only set up a large array. Tang Jing loudly explained. The people living here were all on the same side, so there was no need to worry about speaking. Wu Junshan curiously asked, "What is the use of this array?" "It improves the air in this area and protects everyone." "Hey, you don't say. The air has really become fresh. It's like being in a mountain forest." Feng Xinyang took a deep breath and exclaimed. The others also noticed this and their faces were full of surprise. This is only the beginning. The longer this formation operates, the better the air quality here will become, and it won't be affected by the outside world. Sigh, the air quality in the capital is really bad. When will it be like here? Tianlei sighed with disappointment and frustration. Feng Xinyang glared at him and said, "You're the only one who cares about the country and the people." Tang Jing smiled and said, "Uncle Yi, don't worry. In the near future, our air quality will become the same as in ancient times. No matter where we go, it will be like being in a mountain forest." He believed that the Tree of Life could do this. "I hope I can see it in my lifetime," Yi Tianlei said. Lan Yu retracted her gaze. The strange phenomenon in the sky had completely disappeared. The clouds were calm as if nothing had happened. She asked, "You said that this formation can protect everyone, so it has a defensive ability. How strong is its defensive ability?" "Everyone can give it a try," Tang Jing suggested. He also wanted to know how strong this primordial heavenly cycle array was. "Alright then, let's give it a try." Everyone walked out of the array. Some people walked quickly, and when they reached the edge of the array, they were bounced back with a bang. The others looked at this scene in surprise. They knew that this was the effect of the array. This array doesn't only have a defensive ability against the outside world. Once the array is activated, even the people inside will leave. Tang Jing explained. Then isn't this very inconvenient? We'll be cut off from the outside world. Although it was only a step outside and they could see everything clearly, they couldn't leave at all. This array was a bit useless. Tang Jing had already thought of this point, so he already had a countermeasure. He said, "These are some jade stones that I made. In the future, everyone who enters and exits the array must wear jade stones. The array will automatically recognize them. Without jade stones, there is no way for people to enter or exit. These jade stones are a type of identification tool." Tang Jing spread out his hands. His palms were filled with sparkling jade stones. "I've also engraved some small defensive arrays on this jade stone. It can withstand a certain amount of attacks. It's equivalent to a protective talisman." "Great, then it would be impolite for us to refuse." Feng Xinyang took a piece of jade and played with it non-stop, as if she wanted to find some clues, but with her eyes she couldn't find anything. She carefully wore it on her body and strode out of the array. She walked out of the formation unscathed. She looked back and said happily, "It really worked." The others also took the jade stones and wore them on their bodies. Sure enough, they could enter and leave freely. In this way, this area was equivalent to Tang Jing's small kingdom. Outsiders couldn't enter or leave at all. Fortunately, this area was sparsely populated and a few houses had already been bought by Tang Jing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for him to do this. Right now, the people who lived here were all closely related to him. Other than his family, there were also the warriors of the Witch clan. They were all on his side. "You can try to attack the array from outside and see what effect it has," Tang Jing reminded. Feng Xinyang could not wait any longer and slapped the air with her palm. Although there was nothing, she felt a huge recoil. Peng, she was bounced back and flew far away, staggering as she landed on the ground. Feng Xinyang was very clear about her own strength. This palm strike was enough to split open a boulder, but she didn't expect that it would still be bounced back. All of the force was used on her own palm. If not for her profound strength, she would have been injured by her own palm. When the others saw this scene, they understood the power of the array and stopped underestimating it. Lan Yu stood outside the array and held her breath with rapt attention. She circulated her power and pointed out a finger. A terrifying power burst forth from her fingertip, directly tearing through the air and fiercely striking the array. Boom! The array shook violently. A ray of light flashed and then quieted down. Lan Yu's attack still did not break the array. Her eyes couldn't help but reveal a strange look. The power of this attack was much stronger than Feng Xinyang's attack. She didn't continue probing but nodded in satisfaction. This array is indeed powerful. With the array's defense, at least the enemy won't be able to sneak attack us. This was the most important point. Facing a top-notch expert, this array would definitely not be able to block it. However, it could stall for time and even cause a huge commotion. This was enough for the others to rush over and provide support. Tang Jing agreed, "That makes sense. How powerful can this formation of yours withstand?" Wu Junshan asked curiously. Tang Jing was not in a hurry to answer because he didn't know the answer himself. He could only ask Qiyu. Qiyu seemed to be a little angry because of Tang Jing's distrust and deliberately didn't say, "You can figure this out yourself." Tang Jing helplessly shrugged and said, "We can only slowly figure this out. When we meet the enemy we'll know. The others looked at each other, but this wasn't a big deal, so they didn't bother with it. Everyone happily shuttled back and forth inside the array. It was very refreshing. In the evening, when Yi Dingdang, Fang Shishir, Lu Qingmei and N returned, they were also very interested. They excitedly played around for a while before finally stopping. Yi Dingdang was dragged back by Feng Xinyang. It seemed that the mother and daughter were preparing to talk through the night again. At the same time, inside the inner palace, the lights were brightly lit. The bureau chief looked at the sect leader in front of him coldly and fiercely slammed his teacup on the table. With a bang, he said with dissatisfaction, "Didn't you say that you were very powerful? How come you couldn't even kill one Ji Wuxiang? In the end you were even saved by Tang Jing?" It was the bureau chief's order to get rid of Ji Wuxiang because Ji Wuxiang was the opponent's white glove. Getting rid of him would be a great help to the opponent. However, he didn't expect that even the sect leader couldn't succeed. This made him very shocked and very angry. The sect leader's eyes were as calm as an ancient well. He said lightly, "It was my mistake this time. The opponent had Tang Jing's help. That's why he managed to escape. It's Tang Jing again." The bureau chief finally couldn't take it anymore and threw the teacup in his hand to the ground. With a bang, the teacup shattered and tea splashed everywhere. Number 1 stood at the door and trembled in fear. Recently, the bureau chief seemed to be angrier and angrier. However, he couldn't do anything about it. He could only be more careful, afraid of angering the bureau chief. However, the sect leader wasn't afraid at all and continued, "Tang Jing is the biggest hidden danger. If this person isn't eliminated, you and I won't be able to rest in peace." The bureau chief snorted and said, "It's not up to you to decide how to deal with him. I have my own plans. Since we've already alerted the enemy, it won't be easy to deal with Ji Wuxiang. That's why I won't act rashly during this period of time." Another thing worth noting is that Tang Jing went to the Yi residence today and caused a ruckus there. This definitely wasn't done on a whim. He always does things with a purpose. That's why this matter needs to be investigated thoroughly. The sect leader reminded. The bureau chief rolled his eyes and stared at the sect leader, saying, "The Yi residence has always had a grudge with Tang Jing. What's wrong with Tang Jing causing a ruckus in the Yi residence? Some things are better investigated thoroughly. Otherwise, if we miss out on something important, it'll be too late to regret it in the future." The sect leader said disapprovingly. The bureau chief muttered to himself. Although he was very angry with the sect leader, he couldn't help but admit that the sect leader was very capable. His judgment was naturally not bad. Since he brought up this matter, it definitely wasn't without reason. "Okay, I'll ask Yi Xuanji right now." The bureau chief dialed Yi Xuanji's number in front of the sect leader. "Old Yi, I heard that Tang Jing went to cause a ruckus in the Yi residence today. This person is really becoming more and more arrogant. It's too outrageous." The bureau chief asked. "The bureau chief personally called me to show concern. I Yi Xuanji am really grateful. Tang Jing just likes to find trouble. I've already chased him away." Yi Xuanji said shamelessly. He didn't seem embarrassed at all to lie. Tang Jing wasn't chased away by him. It was purely because he wanted to save face. However, the bureau chief didn't care about these details and said, "Then what did he want?" Chapter 1049. The Lord also heard Yi Xuanji's words and shook his head slightly. It was obvious that he didn't believe Yi Xuanji's words. The bureau chief understood and of course had the same idea. He coldly laughed and said, "Old Yi, you're too dishonest. Who can hide what happened in the capital from?" This seemingly simple sentence gave Yi Xuanji a lot of pressure. The Ye family was no longer what it used to be. He had to give the government face and also rely on them. If he didn't tell the truth, then many things would become worse. Yi Xuanji hesitated but quickly reacted. He smiled as if nothing happened and said, "The bureau chief's words are reasonable. The main thing is that these are all trivial matters that aren't worth mentioning." "But I want to hear it," the bureau chief said concisely. These 4 words blocked all of Yi Xuanji's excuses. Yi Xuanji suddenly froze as he resentfully said, "Tang Jing purposely barged into my house and said something about possessing my body. I don't understand what he said, as I feel that it is all just an excuse." Being possessed? Desolate aura? The bureau chief was confused and suspiciously looked at the Lord. The Lord's expression changed as if he was thinking about something. "Is there anything else?" the bureau chief asked. He insisted that someone in my Ye family was possessed. Actually, there was no such thing. In the end, he didn't find anything and left. Yi Xuanji angrily said, as if he didn't believe this nonsense at all. Okay, if there's anything else you must inform me, the bureau chief said in a deep voice. Bureau chief, Tang Jing didn't put my Ye family in his eyes at all. This means that he didn't put you in his eyes. This kind of person can't be tolerated. Yi Xuanji didn't miss the chance to criticize Tang Jing. The bureau chief heavily snorted and hung up the phone. He then stared at the Lord and asked, "What did you think?" The Lord's expression kept changing. After a while he said, "I'm afraid this matter isn't that simple. We need to investigate further. Being possessed is another soul occupying another person's body. This kind of thing can only be done by cultivators. Could it be that some powerful cultivator has appeared in this world? But why would they want to possess him?" The bureau chief frowned and said, "We have to investigate these messy matters thoroughly. Since Tang Jing values it so much, it must be something serious. We can't let him get the upper hand." The possessed person's usual behavior is completely different from before. If we follow this clue, we might be able to find out who in the Ye family was possessed. The Great Lord quickly came up with a plan. "This isn't a difficult task. There will be results soon," the bureau chief said confidently. The Great Lord looked at him deeply and saw that he did not find it difficult to think. Instead, he was full of confidence. This meant that he had already planted spies in the Ye family. Perhaps that was not all. He had spies in all the major families and forces in the capital, except for Tang Jing's new force. The core members of Tang Jing's group were all people who had been in contact with each other countless times, or warriors of the witch tribe. It was impossible for other people to break into this group. "Chief, you're really prepared for a rainy day. Brilliant." The Great Lord gave a rare compliment. The bureau chief laughed and said, "Of course. It's a pity that Tang Jing's side is impenetrable. We can't find out more information." The Great Lord said regretfully. A glint flashed across the bureau chief's eyes. He said with a half-smile, "Is that so? I believe that everything depends on effort. There's nothing absolute in this world." The Great Lord stared at the bureau chief without blinking, as if he wanted to find some clues from his eyes and expression. However, the other party was so shrewd that he could not see through him at all. "Continue to keep an eye on Ji Wuxiang. This person must be eliminated. I want to remove that person's right-hand man." The bureau chief's eyes flashed coldly as he said firmly. The Great Lord nodded lightly and left. Number 1 walked over from the door and said, "Bureau chief, did the Great Lord tell the truth? He knows more about cultivators than we do. If he keeps some key information and gets the upper hand, wouldn't it be very disadvantageous for us?" The bureau chief smiled coldly. "I've never been so conservative. More flowers means more results. What you said makes a lot of sense. Therefore we have to start with Tang Jing." "Oh, how do we do it? Didn't he just say that Tang Jing's side is impenetrable? I want to plant someone by his side and let the Great Lord see whose methods are better," the bureau chief said solemnly. Number 1 was enlightened. However, he was smart enough not to ask the bureau chief what he was going to do. This was an absolute secret. It might not be a good thing for him to know too much. University officially started. Tang Jing stepped into the life of a sophomore. He did not skip classes on the first day. Instead, he went to class obediently and attracted a lot of attention. Although he was not an arrogant person, he had experienced too many things and was well known. Even among his classmates, other than a few of his roommates, the others were only nodding acquaintances with him. The class schedule on the first day was quite full. There were classes the whole morning. After class ended at noon, he walked to the cafeteria with his roommates. Halfway there, his phone rang. "Boss, it's me, Feng Yong." Feng Yong's voice could not wait to come out of the phone. Speaking of Feng Yong, he was an anomaly. Tang Jing had once taught him martial arts, and he could be considered to be hard-working in his cultivation. He had some small achievements, but in front of a true expert, that little bit of martial arts was not worth mentioning. However, he was now a famous person in his own school. He was a pioneer in entrepreneurship and was definitely a classic example. This was all because of his talent in business. In the past, his girlfriend had complained to Tang Jing that he always went to those small alleys and corners, causing a lot of criticism. However, later on they found out that he was doing market research. In the past, he found it hard to talk about his family's sex toy business. He was dismissive of it, but after thinking it through, he dived in. After doing market research, he moved the family business from offline stores to online. Through various online marketing, the sales increased by several times in a short period of time. Of course, he was also a controversial person. However, his heart was very strong and could not be affected by all kinds of criticism. Hearing his voice, Tang Jing smiled and asked, "Fatty, why did you think of calling me?" "Boss, I'm so angry." "Quickly look on the internet. You're being scolded by countless people." Feng Yong said with righteous indignation. Tang Jing frowned. When did he expose himself on the internet? He did not do anything big recently. "What's the situation? Tell me briefly." Tang Jing asked. "Did you have a conflict with a few Korean people recently?" Tang Jing moved his head and said, "Yes, is there a problem?" This matter was exaggerated and spread on the internet. There were also a few photos. Then that crazy Korean person kept scolding you like crazy. Now it's a hot topic on Weibo. Tang Jing was stunned. He did not expect that the incident that day would develop further. In his eyes, those Koreans were not even worth mentioning. He had long forgotten about them. "Quickly open Weibo and take a look." Tang Jing did not have Weibo on his phone. He asked his roommates, "Who has Weibo? Open it and take a look. I think I've been scolded." Scolded? The others were confused and quickly opened Weibo. As expected, the top topic was the incident between Tang Jing and the Korean, Park Shi-hoon. After clicking on it, there was a strict condemnation letter with photos of Tang Jing beating up Park Shi-hoon and Park Shi-hoon's miserable appearance. This ignited the fury of Park Si-hoon's fans, as they started cursing Tang Jing's 18 generations of ancestors, all of his direct relatives, and even all of his female friends. Their filthy words were unbearable to look at. The few of them only took a few glances before they were fuming with anger. Their eyes were about to spit fire. Bang! Do Long fiercely threw his phone on the ground as if he was still angry. He stomped his feet a few times and roared angrily, "Damn it, this group of people are spouting nonsense, they actually dare to scold Ol. Third." Seeing him so impulsive, Tang Jing's anger dissipated. He patted everyone's shoulders and advised, Don't be so impatient. They're just a bunch of ignorant people. Why are you angry with them? You'll only hurt yourself and let them off easy. Look at your phone, didn't it suffer?" Sinosaurus huffed and puffed. He raised his head and said in a rough voice, "Am I not too angry?" Seeing Ol. 3 being bullied, I, Sinosaurus, am the first to take it lying down. Zhou Yin also patted Sinosaurus's shoulder and said, "Oh, 2, you're angering yourself and making the enemy secretly happy. We have to analyze this matter and find out who's behind it. Then we'll settle the score with them. That's the key." Wang Shiji nodded in agreement. "Oh, before is right. We have to grasp the key point." Sinosaurus blew his beard and glared, "I'm not that rational. Moreover, is there even a need to look at this matter? It's definitely that Korean stick's doing. From their actions that day we can tell that they're not good people. They like to use these dirty tricks." "Boss, I've analyzed it. Although this denunciation letter was sent in the tone of a fan, with my long experience and professional vision, I can tell that this matter is definitely carefully planned by someone. It has a strong purpose and is not simply a fan venting." Feng Yong said on the other end of the phone. "I've already entered your school gate. Where are you? I'll be there soon. When the time comes, we'll discuss and find out who's behind this." Chapter 1050. Feng Yong gasped for breath as he ran over. It seemed that he had gained a lot of weight. When he ran, he was like a small moving mountain. He did not bother to wipe the sweat off his forehead as he said with righteous indignation, "Boss, this matter must not be left as it is. He actually dared to slander my boss. Is he not putting me in his eyes? I've already hired a water army to fight them to the end. The experience I've accumulated over this period of time isn't for nothing. In the end, it's still unknown who will emerge victorious." Tang Jing laughed as he looked at Feng Yong, who was sweating like rain. He felt very close, as if he was back in high school. He patted his shoulder and said, "It's not worth getting angry over these people. Look at me, the person involved, I'm not angry." Feng Yong said angrily, "That's because you, boss, are magnanimous. I don't have that kind of magnanimity. For these despicable people, I must pull them out and parade them through the streets. I definitely can't let them hide in a dark corner and rejoice." Sinosaurus put his arm around Feng Yong's shoulder as if they were close friends. He said with a common enemy, "Feng Yong is right. We can't just let this go. We must investigate to the end. Moreover, we can't let them lead public opinion into the wrong abyss. Those who don't know the truth can easily be incited and turn around to attack you." Tang Jing of course wouldn't turn a blind eye to it. He nodded and said, "Fatty, then what do you plan to do? You've been on the internet for so long, you should have a plan." "My plan is very simple. First, we organize a water army to counterattack. The other side also hired a water army. I saw some familiar accounts that were clearly water army, so we can't show weakness. Second, we need to restore the truth and then speak up so that those who don't know the truth won't wrongly accuse you. Third, we need to track down the mastermind and find him in reality. This is the most important thing. As long as we catch him, then everything will be solved. Feng Yong spoke with assurance as if he was confident in his victory. Seeing his eyes shining with incomparable confidence, Tang Zheng was very pleased. This was a completely different person from the previous Feng Yong. He used to be weak and had low self-esteem, but now he was full of confidence. This was a real transformation. The others nodded in agreement. Feng Yong's strategy is very good. Let's follow it. Don't worry about what happened on the internet. I'll take responsibility for it. Of course, you have to tell me in detail what happened at that time. Then I'll think of a counterattack and destroy the other party's lies. Sinosaurus and the others immediately started talking non-stop. Hearing this, Feng Yong's eyes spat fire as he clenched his fists tightly. Damn it, this group of people are distorting the truth. We absolutely can't tolerate them. We must make them go down in history and infamy. Furthermore, I have my suspicions. I previously investigated this Park Si-hoon and found out that he's holding a concert in Beijing this weekend, but the ticket sales aren't as good as expected. Hence, I suspect that they're using this incident to create hype. Firstly, it's to win over more fans, and secondly, it's to attract more fans to attend his concert. There's such a thing? Tang Zheng looked at Feng Yong in surprise. He originally thought that Feng Yong was here to study, but he didn't expect that Feng Yong was here to make money. Did he really think that Wuxia people were fools? Anyone can come and take money out of our pockets. Compared to Tang Linger, this Park Si-hoon is trash. Tang Linger's concert has long been sold out, and this person actually wants to use hype to promote his concert. He's too low class. Zhou Yin shook his head and said in disdain. Sinosaurus glared at him and said, "Fourth bro, you're simply tarnishing my goddess by comparing such a person to him." Wang Shiji nodded his head in agreement. That's right. Tang Linger is a goddess, a fairy. How can a despicable person like Park Si-hoon be mentioned in the same breath as her? Zhou Yin knew that he had misspoken, so he immediately tried to salvage the situation. That's right. I was wrong. Linger is holding a concert in Beijing? Feng Yong knew about the relationship between Tang Linger and Tang Zheng, so he asked in astonishment. Seeing that Sinosaurus and the rest didn't seem to know about this, he looked at Tang Zheng curiously. Tang Zheng did not expose him and said, "That's right. I've already gotten the tickets. You can come as well." Feng Yong was overjoyed. "Of course I'll come. When is it?" "It's also this weekend." "That's right. It seems that the two concerts are at the same time. This is really like a competition. When the time comes, we'll let this Korean know what a real celebrity is," Sinosaurus said excitedly as he waved his fist. After listening to the analysis, Tang Zheng no longer underestimated them. These people had sinister intentions, and if he didn't discover it early on, he would probably be kept in the dark. Since this involved Linger, then he would not let his guard down. With a solemn face, he instructed, "Fatty, I'll leave this matter to you. As for the investigation of the mastermind, I'll do it myself." "What do you plan to do?" "I'll find this group of people first. Also, don't they like to be unreasonable and not follow the rules? Then I'll give them a taste of their own medicine and take drastic measures." Tang Zheng's eyes flickered as he said with a smile that was not a smile, "What drastic measures?" "You'll know when the time comes." Tang Zheng mysteriously smiled. Although the rest were curious, they did not pursue the matter. However, they understood that if Tang Zheng were to take action, then the other party would definitely suffer a huge loss. After the few of them had lunch together, Tang Zheng left the school alone. This was because, according to the preliminary investigation, this Park Si-hoon did not live in the school. Instead, he lived in a large apartment outside. Although it was the first day of school, this fella did not come to class because he was rehearsing for a concert. Ever since the previous incident, he did not appear in the school anymore. The main reason was that most of the students were disgusted with him. He was afraid that he would be beaten up again, and that would be too embarrassing. In fact, he did not go to rehearse. Instead, he hid in his apartment and watched the war on the internet. This matter was planned by him and his assistant. This way, not only could they gain sympathy, but they could also increase their fame and help to sell the concert tickets. Ever since the war on the internet began, the sales of his concert tickets had greatly increased, allowing him to taste the sweetness. Pointing at the screen, he excitedly said to his assistant, "Jean Meiji, Look at how smart we are to turn a bad thing into a good thing. This beating is not in vain. The company will definitely praise me when they know about it. After the concert, we'll summarize our experience and hand it over to the company. At that time, the other artists in the company can also use this method. Lying on his shoulder, Jean Meiji charmingly smiled and said, Opera is smart. This time that Tang Jing has become the target of public criticism. He's going to be drowned by the spit of saliva. Wait until my influence in Wuxia grows. At that time I'll settle the score with him. From what I heard from Principal Pang, that brat seems to have some background. We can't fight him with strength, so we can only outsmart him. Park Shi-hoon hatefully said. Jean Meiji's hand slid across his chest. His chest was so thin that she could see his ribs. It was like a piece of paper, without the strength and beauty of a man. What era are we in now? Who still blindly fights with strength? That's just a brute. Only smart people like Appa who use their brains will be the final winner. Park Shi-hoon laughed complacently. He hugged Jean Meiji and kissed her fiercely. Then his big hand went under her clothes. Jean Meiji immediately began to pant. Not long after, the two of them were rolling together. However, the two of them did not notice that there was an additional person at the door. That person was silently watching the two of them with his phone, recording everything. Tang Jing didn't come here to watch the show. He didn't have such a hobby. He just happened to be here. He originally came here to confirm if they were the ones behind the scenes. Now that it was confirmed, he didn't have to worry about his actions anymore. He never expected that Park Shi-hoon would have an affair with his assistant. Presumably, those fans who wanted to recommend themselves to him would feel a lot of emotions when they saw this scene. Most importantly, this conversation proved that they were the ones behind the incident. It wasn't like what he said on Weibo. Furthermore, he even fanned the flames with an aggrieved tone. Since that's the case, then it was time to give him a tight slap. Tang Jing initially thought that this show would last for a long time, but he never expected that it would come to an abrupt end. Looking at the time, Tang Jing saw that it was 12 seconds. He was speechless and rolled his eyes. This record was probably unbreakable in the world. What a fast shooter. He gave a playful smile, turned around, and quietly left the apartment. Hey Amy, it's me. Do you know about Park Shi-hoon's concert? Tang Jing called Linger's agent. Amy was promoted after returning from Dianan. Not only was she Linger's agent, but she was also in a management position in the company. He was very familiar with the entertainment industry and was indeed a capable person. Of course I know. Just talking about this guy makes me angry. He actually wants to compete with our Linger. He purposely set the concert on the same day and in the same city as us. In the past they even used Linger to create hype, but we ignored them. These people are too low class. Amy complained in a coquettish voice. Oh, there's such a thing. Tang Jing frowned. So it turned out that they were old rivals. They actually wanted to hitch a ride on Linger's windmill. What wishful thinking. Boss, what's wrong with him? Did he offend you? Amy curiously asked. Did you not pay attention to the war on Weibo? Tang Jing asked. Boss, you don't know. I've been so busy with the concert these past few days. How could I have time to check Weibo? As Amy spoke, she opened Weibo and screamed the moment she saw it. This Park Shi-hoon is too despicable. He actually dared to slander you. Boss, how should we deal with him? Big sister Amy hasn't been in the industry all these years for nothing. How can we let these outsiders be so arrogant? I have a plan to take drastic measures that I need you to take care of. Tang Jing instructed him bit by bit. Chapter 1051. Park Shi-hoon and the others did not continue to confuse the public for long, because Feng Yong had already begun his counterattack step by step. He had hired a large number of internet trolls to counterattack and restored the original appearance of the matter. Furthermore, Tang Jing had even posted the contents of the Weibo on the Peking University's campus forum, which had aroused the anger of the students. Many people clearly knew what had happened at that time, so the students rushed to Weibo to fight back. Some people even posted pictures and videos. The evil deeds of Park Shi-hoon and the others were immediately exposed, especially his dark history of being arrogant and despotic. Everyone came to a realization. It turned out that he was a habitual offender. Such tactics to garner sympathy and distort the truth were not uncommon. In addition, the videos posted by the students were particularly touching, especially the chorus. The burst of emotions ignited every rational Wuxia citizen. Everyone supported Tang Jing one-sidedly and even started a hashtag, Park Shi-hoon, get out of Wuxia. Both sides entered a white-hot phase. Park Shihun's people fought back frantically in an attempt to suppress the other party. However, it was all in vain. That was because a new round of attacks sounded. Feng Yong had released his ultimate weapon, the video recorded by Tang Zheng. Of course, it had been edited or else it would not have passed the review. However, the edited video clearly explained the cause and effect, especially the incident between Park Shihun and Jean Meiji. It immediately blew up the internet. Usually, Park Shihun boasted that he was a good man and did not have a girlfriend. It turned out that he had been with his assistant for a long time. Many female fans felt cheated. These fans treated Park Shihun as their dream lover and Prince Charming. How could they tolerate their man doing such things with another woman? Women were crazy when they liked someone, but when they hated someone, their methods were even crazier. At this moment, Feng Yong's gentle provocation caused many fans to turn against him. They spontaneously boycotted Park Shihun's concert and demanded a refund. This left Park Shihun and the rest dumbfounded, especially the video between him and Jean Meiji. That was the key point. How did the other party record it? Moreover, the concert was about to start, but there was a large-scale boycott and refund of tickets. This would cause a bandwagon effect. They were not wrong. Many people followed the bandwagon and refunded tickets. The sales that had originally risen was not worth mentioning at all. Instead, it fell by a lot. Park Shihun immediately made a statement to retaliate, but it was quickly drowned out by the curses of his fans. This was the style of brain-dead fans. They would do whatever they wanted and would not listen to any explanation. This time, Park Si-hoon had shot himself in the foot and no longer dared to show his face. However, he also understood that there must be someone fanning the flames. Otherwise, how could his one-sided advantage turn into such a situation? However, he could not figure out how a student could be so capable. In fact, there were many things that he did not know. Bad news came one after another. On the day before the concert, he suddenly received a notice from the organizers. Because of Park Si-hoon's actions, the organizers had suffered a great loss and decided to terminate the concert and ask for a large sum of compensation. In order to hold this concert and enter the Wuxia market, Park Si-hoon had signed many contracts that were disadvantageous to him. However, they still bit their toothpicks. Why? Because they could not bear to part with the huge cake that was Wuxia. One of the clauses was that Park Si-hoon had caused the organizers to suffer a great loss. The organizers had the right to cancel the concert and even ask for a large sum of compensation. Now that this seemingly impossible thing had happened, it was completely out of Park Si-hoon's expectations. Therefore, the organizers' demands were reasonable and legal. They were completely acting according to the contract, leaving Park Si-hoon with no other choice. This was Tang Zheng's method of removing the firewood from under the cauldron. Aimi was the mastermind behind all of this. He now had a wide network, and with the resources that Tang Zheng had given him, he was now influential in the entertainment industry. It was easy for him to screw over Park Si-hoon. Pa pa pa. A series of crisp sounds rang out as Park Si-hoon smashed everything in the apartment. His eyes were filled with hatred and he was like a hungry wolf as he roared, "What the hell is going on here? Jean Meiji, have you found out?" Jean Meiji was trembling with fear, but at the same time she was also incomparably indignant as she said, "I've investigated clearly, this matter was caused by that Tang Zheng behind the scenes. Moreover, his identity is not ordinary, he has a lot of background." "What backing?" "I'm not sure about the specifics, but he gives off a very mysterious vibe. However, there's one thing I'm sure of. He's related to that Tang Linger." "Tang Linger? Is that the woman who started the concert on the same day as me?" "Yes, that's her. She also just debuted not too long ago. However, the management team behind her is very strong. That's why she's so popular. We originally wanted to use her popularity to create hype, but we didn't succeed in the end." Tang Linger, Tang Zheng. Could it be that they're family? Jean Meiji pondered, "I'm not sure about the specifics, but we can't rule out that possibility. Because someone once saw Tang Zheng going in and out of Tang Linger's management company. Therefore, there must be a relationship between the two." Park Si-hoon's eyes flickered with hatred as he fiercely stomped his foot and said, "They're purposely suppressing us so that Tang Linger can benefit from it. How can such petty tricks escape my eyes?" He never thought that Tang Zheng did not even put him in his eyes. He was just blindly courting death. "Appa, what should we do then? Didn't Wuxia have a saying? If he does it on the first day, I'll do it on the 15th. If my concert can't be held, her concert can't be successful either. I'll give her a big gift. What do you want? You'll know when the time comes. Just wait for a good show." It'll definitely be on the front page of the newspaper, haha. Park Si-hoon's eyes burned with madness. The next day, on the day of the concert, many fans did not know that Park Si-hoon's concert was cancelled. Therefore, they arrived at the venue early in the morning, only to find that the doors were tightly shut and a temporary cancellation notice was hung high up. The fans went completely crazy and wanted an explanation. Many fans had already searched for Park Si-hoon's residence. However, when the group of fans swarmed over, they found that the building was empty. Capital City Stadium could hold 100,000 people. Today, a large poster of Tang Linger was pasted outside the stadium early in the morning. Dressed in ancient clothing, she looked like a fairy from a painting. Many people were mesmerized. This was the real fairy sister. When Tang Linger appeared, all the other fairy sisters that were hyped up paled in comparison. No one noticed that a man wearing a baseball cap and a staff uniform had quietly passed through the staff passageway with a black duffel bag in his hand. He avoided the crowd and came to the bottom of the stage. He quietly put the duffel bag in an inconspicuous dark corner under the stage, and then he left in a grandiose manner. All of this happened without anyone noticing. He only stopped when he was a long distance away from the stadium. Under the baseball cap, a pair of eyes flashed with a cold light. He sneered and muttered to himself, "Tang Linger, I want your concert to be a splendid fireworks show." In the evening, Tang Zheng, Fang Shishir, Yi Dingdang, and a few other classmates arrived at Capital City Stadium. Looking at the long queue of people, Do Long shrunk his neck and said, "I originally thought that the few of us would be considered early, but I never thought that these people would come even earlier. In my entire life, this is the first time a big girl has seen a concert on a bridal sedan chair. Haha, if you were a young lady, then you would definitely be alone for the rest of your life. You would never have the chance to sit in a sedan chair." Wang Shiji joked. "I'm just making an analogy." Sinosaurus glared at him, then turned to look at Tang Zheng and asked, "Oh, 3, where are the concert tickets? We're already at the entrance and everyone is already lining up to enter." "We still don't have tickets." Tang Linger was too busy, so she didn't go home during this period of time. Naturally, he didn't get a ticket, but Linger told him to give it to him at the stadium before the concert started. "Oh, 3, why don't you call your friend first?" Zhou Yin reminded him. Feng Yong said nonchalantly, "Don't worry. If the boss doesn't have a ticket to this concert, then no one in the world will have a ticket." "Ish, fatty, aren't you afraid of biting your tongue when you talk big? You don't know how popular this concert is. Although Tang Linger has only debuted for a short time, she has a huge number of fans. Moreover, her voice is too beautiful. How do I describe it?" Sinosaurus held it in for a long time before finally thinking of a word: heavenly music. Listening to her sing is like listening to heavenly music. It's ethereal and elegant, making people forget countless troubles. It can truly cleanse the soul. Seeing Sinosaurus's intoxicated expression, Zhou Yang and Wang Shiji didn't refute him. Instead, they nodded in agreement. Tang Zheng and the others looked at each other in dismay. Speaking of which, they had never heard Linger sing before, so they really didn't know if her singing was good or bad. However, Tang Zheng knew that her voice wasn't bad, so he wasn't worried about her strength. "Boss, you're here." A person jogged over and waved from afar. Everyone hurriedly turned their heads and happened to see a charming man trotting over. Aimi stopped and panted. She put her hands on her hips and said, "I'm so tired. Aimi, I've been looking for you guys for a long time." "Aimi, are you here to deliver the tickets?" Tang Jing guessed the purpose of his visit. Aimi smiled and nodded, "Of course. Actually, this is also my negligence. I should have arranged a seat for the boss a long time ago." "Don't be so polite. I was also on a whim. How many people do you have? I'll see if there are enough tickets. If not, I'll go get more." Aimi's gaze swept across the crowd as she asked. "We only have a few people. Are you done looking?" Aimi beamed with joy. "Enough? Boss, I'm really too busy. I'll have to trouble you to go in by yourselves. These tickets are for the best VIP seats. You can go do what you need to do." Tang Jing took the tickets and waved his hand. Aimi left without stopping. Sinosaurus and the others looked at Tang Jing suspiciously. Sinosaurus put an arm around Tang Jing's shoulder and said, "Lao San, tell us the truth. What kind of relationship do you have to make them take the initiative to hand over the VIP tickets? Also, did that person call you boss? What's going on?" Chapter 1052. Seeing that everyone was cheering, Tang Jing smiled and waved the tickets in his hand. Hurry up and get your tickets. Otherwise there will be a lot of people going in later. Everyone's attention was immediately attracted by the tickets and they all rushed over to get their tickets. Tang Jing walked towards the entrance. With the VIP tickets, they did not need to queue up and could directly enter through the VIP entrance. Hence, the few of them swaggered towards the VIP entrance. Sinosaurus raised his head like a proud rooster and chuckled. We can finally enjoy the VIP treatment. Third bro, if you have the chance in the future, bring us along more often. Don't enjoy it alone. Tang Jing's head moved. Since he had already taught them magic, they were naturally considered to be on the same side. Hence, for their future development he could bring them to many occasions. It could be considered as them adapting to society in advance, which was very beneficial for them. In this way their starting point in the future would be much higher than the average person. Alright, I'll bring you guys along next time. Ah, you're a good brother. The few of them came to the entrance and the ticketing staff politely checked their tickets. The group entered the stadium and immediately saw the VIP area with the best seats. When they found their seats, they found that they were actually the VIP of the VIP. Their seats were definitely the best of the best. The few of them subconsciously looked at Tang Jing. His ability was too brilliant to be able to get such a good seat. Of course, these seats were not far from the stage. Whether it was the sound or the visual effects, they felt that this trip was not in vain. When the audience in the other VIP areas saw them, they were all suspicious. It seemed that they did not expect these people to get the best seats. However, among them, Fang Shishir and Yi Dingdang attracted a lot of attention. After all, beautiful women would be the center of attention no matter where they went. The few guys sat and whispered as they waited for the concert to start. Boss, there's news on the internet that Park Shihun's concert has been cancelled. Is this your plan to take drastic measures? Feng Yong asked with a smile. The others raised their eyebrows. Obviously they were also attracted and asked, yeah, third bro, what's the drastic measures you mentioned last time? Why are you being so mysterious? Thus Tang Jing decided not to hide it anymore and said, Fatty, you guessed it right. That's my plan. Isn't Park Shihun trying to use the concert to attract more people? I won't let him have his way and cancel his concert. Naturally all his plans will fall apart. Everyone's eyes lit up and they all gave him a thumbs up, praising, brilliant, this is brilliant. For these so-called stars, beating them up is not as good as venting our anger. In this way they will no longer have the qualifications to be high and mighty. They can only scram back to their Korea. This kind of person's level is too low. If you keep competing with him, you'll be praising him instead. Teach him a lesson and he'll know how strong you are. Tang Jing said lightly. If Park Si-hoon was a cultivator and not an ordinary person, he would definitely not let him off so easily. Most importantly, the difference in strength between the two sides was too great. If Tang Jing used his full strength, it would be like an adult bullying a child. He didn't need to do so. Actually, this was also because he recited the Ksiddhagarbha Sutra every day. The killing intent in his heart had mostly dissipated, and he became calmer. This is OL, third being benevolent. If it was me, I would have beaten him up long ago. Let's see if those fans still like him. Sinosaurus said with righteous indignation. Feng Yong also nodded in agreement. Boss is benevolent. He's lucky this time. If he still doesn't know how to tuck his tail between his legs, I'll teach him a lesson. Zhou Yin had the opposite opinion and stood together with Tang Jing, saying, Oh, third is the mature one. You guys are too impulsive. This Park Si-hoon is despicable, but he still has a company behind him. He has his own interest group. There's no need to fight to the death. The few of them still wanted to argue, but Tang Jing immediately changed the topic. As night fell, the capital stadium was filled to the brim. In the darkness, countless fluorescent sticks and supporting signs lit up. Not only were there girls in the audience, there were also quite a few boys. Clearly, Tang Linger's influence among the boys was very significant. The lights on the stage gradually dimmed. Everyone immediately quieted down and held their breaths. They stretched their necks and looked at the center of the stage. A dot of light lit up above the stage. Starlight. A ray of starlight lit up in the darkness, like the morning star in the night sky. Soon, more and more starlight lit up, flickering like fairies blinking their eyes. The starlight dotted the night sky as if it was filled with stars. Suddenly, a white dress appeared in the starry sky. It grew from small to large, from far to near, like a fairy dancing above the river of stars. She really was dancing in the starry sky. Her graceful dance was so beautiful that it was suffocating. She moved gracefully like a swimming dragon. Her footsteps were light and graceful. Her voice was like an orchid's. Each and every one of them was beautiful and moving. Words that only existed in myths and legends to describe fairies popped out from the depths of their minds. The audience was mesmerized. The lights gradually shone on Tang Linger's body. She descended from the sky, like a fairy descending from the Milky Way. She brought with her a fairy-like aura like a breeze. Her singing voice rang out and her red lips parted. The ethereal and melodious voice entered everyone's mind. It was as if it had a magical power, causing their souls to tremble. The word, moving, was not enough to describe this feeling. Their spirits seemed to have left their bodies and floated into the air, enjoying this scene. Tang Zheng stared blankly at Linger on the stage. He did not expect that Linger on the stage would be so different from the rest. At this moment, no one present could compare to her radiance. Although Yi Dingdang and Fang Shishir did not lose to Linger in terms of beauty, at this moment, Linger's charm still far overshadowed theirs. Many people closed their eyes when they heard the last part of the song. They enjoyed the sound and the lyrics, and their spirits gained a great sense of satisfaction. When the song ended, the lights lit up. The entire stadium was silent. No one applauded or cheered. This was because everyone was immersed in the beautiful mood outlined by Linger's song. The sound lingered in the air for 3 days. Perhaps this was the experience. A soft applause rang out. It was as if a fuse had been lit. Thunderous applause immediately rang out and swept through the entire stadium. Cheers rose and fell as if they were going to rush into the sky. A fairy descending to the mortal world. So moving. It's heavenly music. It's definitely heavenly music. Yes, the live effect is too shocking. It's 1,000,000 times better than listening to the recording. Of course, the recording was already very moving, but this is true perfection. The audience boiled over. The praises and applause blended together and lasted for a long time. Sinosaurus and the others almost went crazy. They clutched their chests and looked deeply impressed. They said excitedly, "This trip was worth it. This trip was worth it." After listening to this concert, other concerts will be tasteless in the future. The others nodded in agreement. Tang Linger's gaze turned towards the VIP area. Although she could not see clearly, she knew that her master was looking at her. Everything she had today was given to her by her master. The person she wanted to sing for the most was her master. She thought silently in her heart. The corners of her mouth could not help but curl up slightly, revealing a faint smile. There is a beauty in the north, peerless and independent. One smile can topple a city and another smile can topple a country. This faint smile immediately let the audience understand the true meaning of this poem. Immediately they became even crazier as if they were drunk. The song rang out again. All the noise immediately disappeared, turning into silence. Everyone was immersed in the mood created by the song. This concert was very different from other concerts. Every time Tang Linger's voice rang out, it accurately captured the hearts and minds of the audience. Therefore no one screamed, no one made a racket and no one sang their own voice. The only thing they did was listen. This was the essence of a concert, listening to the singer's song and experiencing the beautiful mood created by the song. Tang Linger's performance was extremely high. There wasn't a single flaw in her performance. Her continuous singing moved every single audience member. Especially when the backup dancers came on stage, the song and dance merged into one, raising the mood to a whole new level. Time passed by minute, and the concert gradually reached its climax. Under the spotlight, Tang Linger said softly, "The next song is a new song. It's a song I've been preparing for a long time. I want to sing it for one person because without him I wouldn't be who I am today. Everything I have was given to me by him. He is the most important person in this world. He is my everything." These words were very gentle, like a mountain stream flowing through people's hearts. However, it set off a huge wave in everyone's hearts. Because these words were too much like a confession. That he must be a man. Who is this man? Can he win Tang Linger's heart? A big question mark appeared in everyone's mind, but no one was angry. There was only envy from the bottom of their hearts and blessings. Who is that person? Someone asked loudly, "Is he here today?" Tang Linger smiled faintly and said, "He's here." As she said that, she couldn't help but look in the direction of Tang Zheng. The lights also swished to the area. Suddenly, everyone in the area was illuminated by the lights. Everyone looked at each other. They really didn't know who she was talking about. "Lao San, could it be you?" Sinosaurus exclaimed, then quickly lowered his voice and stared at Tang Zheng in disbelief. Everyone else also fixed their eyes on him. They saw that he was not surprised at all. He didn't even have much of a reaction. Tang Zheng was very clear about his important position in Linger's heart. If it weren't for him, perhaps Linger would always be that ginseng with no chance to transform into a human. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.